All right, it's officially public.
Cool.
All right, I see people coming in. That's good. So we'll just get right into it. Yeah, if any of you guys currently viewing are the same 39 people that viewed last time, sorry about that one, but I think we got the sound figured out and we should be good to go. So, are we on all the channels, Paul?
Yeah, I posted in the channels on Telegram. I posted on Twitter. People are resharing. I think that's about it.
Yeah, nothing really left to do. So for anyone that doesn't know me already, I'm Matt from Crypto Coffee, and here today I am with Paul from SteakHex.com. If you've never heard of
Hello.
SteakHex.com, we can let you kind of give a quick intro and tell us what it's all about.
Yeah, so SteakHex is a project that I started working on last March while Hex was still in development. There was a Hex calculator at that point, but it wasn't. It kind of had some set parameters, and then it would calculate, your big payday. So there was kind of room for a simulator that really simulated the contract functionality, simulated everyone staking, doing different behaviors, and allowing you to do more complex stuff like starting multiple stakes at different times. So I started working on that simulator last March, and then published it a couple months later. And was basically trying to keep it up to date with the Hex smart contract, which was in development still at that point. They were fixing bugs. So yeah, StakeX originally was just the simulator. Since then, it's grown. It's got a community there. We just launched a couple of weeks ago the first Hex smartphone app, Hex Tool, which is good for onboarding. We're about to release a new version of that, which is much more. We got a designer on the team, so it's much more elegant looking. It's going to have the ability to upgrade, to get rid of ads, and allow you to get a share of the referrals from it. It's good for referring friends, generates a QR code. They just send it Ether, and it opens the stake, and then you can send it a 0 Ether transaction after that, and we enters the adoption amplifier lobby. Next day, you send a 0 Ethereum transaction, and it pulls out your stuff from the lobby. We had to do it that way for compatibility with mobile Ethereum wallets, which don't at this point play well with QR codes and smart contracts. But yeah, so Hex Tool, check that out. You can download it for Android and iOS, and we've got a new version coming out real soon for that as well. But yeah, what you're looking at is the simulator that I made.
Yeah, so I've got it pulled up right here. It's actually one of the oldest tools that I remember being built in this space. Yeah, it was one of the first things built for Hex, and I remember back in the day it was pretty exciting. It still is, too, if you've never heard of it. But what's even better is, like you said, the mobile app, which is available on Android and iOS. So you can go grab it for free. It really just, it takes 1 or 2 or 3 steps out of the process of actually going into the adoption amplifier and pulling your funds back out the next day and figuring out, what to do with them and all that. So it just gives you a QR code that you can send ETH to instead. And then you send a 0 ETH transaction back to the same address the next day, and it'll just send you back all of your coins. So pretty smooth process there. I've actually tested it out, played around with it. It works great. So if you're trying to, hook up any of your friends with Hex, this is a lot easier than having to tell them about, the adoption amplifier, and you put money in, you got to go back the next day, unstake, and all this stuff. So yeah, so I like it.
Yeah, that was the goal. So glad that you're liking it.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, and we've also got a good walkthrough on the site that you can send your friends to. For it has a walkthrough for Bitcoin claiming, for the free claim, and it has a walkthrough for entering the adoption amplifier with Ethereum.
Yeah.
And we've got a mailing list. It should pop up when you visit the site. I think when you're about to exit the site, it'll pop up and allow you to enter in your email address. I think you can also enter it in on the Hex Tool page, and we send out updates about Hex. Sent out an email today about the 6x that it went up since, I think, between January 1st and February fourth,
Yeah.
third or fourth,
Pretty
went up 6x
unreal.
in the first 36 days of 2020. Yeah, it's pretty awesome, and it looks like there's a little bit of a dip right now.
Which is good.
Uh, uh,
Honestly, I'd be worried if it
oh
was
yeah,
going in a straight line. Um,
well that's why I sent out the email because it. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll go all the way back down, and we'll be able to get in some really good prices again. Maybe this is going to be the last really low dip. Who knows? I certainly don't, but.
yeah.
Um, it certainly is down slightly from what it was a couple days ago, which might be a good time to get in if you haven't yet, or if you want to add more to your stack. This might be the right time.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, or like you said, it could go all the way back down again. I find that a little bit unlikely. I think if anything goes up 6x, that even when things tend to fall down 90%, you're still up at least 1x or so from the bottom, right? So even if it came
Yeah,
almost all the way down, it's pretty promising to see 7x in 30 days, because I think to me that means that it would be hard to have the sell pressure so high that it would ever return to those levels, especially in like just doing the volume that we're doing, which is relatively not that much. But if you look at CoinGecko, the increase in volume is what's most promising. It went from almost zero volume to quite a bit. I can pull up the
yeah, it was
CoinGecko.
up at $500,000 every day a couple days ago. Now it's at I think 450,000,
Right.
uh,
Which is,
and it's all on Uniswap pretty much, the decentralized exchange. SwapHex.com. It'll redirect to Uniswap, which it's a decentralized exchange. It's all smart contracts, and so basically, you can send Ether or any other ERC20 token and exchange it for Hex, and it basically what people can do, what you can do with Uniswap is you can add liquidity to the pool for Ether and another pair like Hex. And basically, the more people add liquidity, the less slippage there is when someone does a big trade. Because if it's kind of a similar problem to if someone does a market buy and clears out the order book, suddenly there's a lot of volatility in price. So it's the most stable, the more liquidity there is in the pool. And in the case of Uniswap, there's like 5 million. Last time I checked, I think Uniswap info. Hex is third. It is third in liquidity with $5,600,000 liquidity for Hex and Ethereum, and then the last 24 hours volume was 494,000, which is second most on Uniswap. Uh, I was actually yesterday or a couple days ago. I was on a podcast that I think is getting released either tonight or tomorrow with Litecoin Moses, and we were looking at the Lightning Network a little bit.
oh yeah, dude,
And
I've heard
Lightning
stats are actually
Network,
going way down for Lightning, which,
well, and the other thing is the amount of Bitcoin that is currently on the Lightning Network, so that can be moved around on
mhm.
it, is like 8 million. So Hex on Uniswap alone is like two-thirds of, in terms of capacity, of what the Lightning Network is right now
Dude,
with
that is
Bitcoin.
absurd. If that's not like good news, I don't know what is. I mean, there was so much hype
Right.
around Lightning, and I mean, I even tried it out myself. I got into Lightning because I was excited about it at first, right? I set up my own node. I self-hosted it with BTC Pay Server. I used it to accept transactions for coffee, because I used to sell coffee. If anybody doesn't know that, um, yeah, that's where the name came from. But anyway, most of my transactions were paid in USD, and the ones that weren't were paid in Bitcoin main chain, right? So nobody wanted to use Lightning. So like, I mean, maybe our killer app isn't there, but I mean, we had a BTC Pay server and like a WordPress plugin and everything pre-built to be able to self-host. And Nick Dorier, the French guy, huge contributions to Bitcoin with BTC Pay server. But even a great app that he built like that was not enough to um, for me to actually get any working transactions, because it's clunky, right? You
Mm,
you set up a node, but then if you don't have any channels connected to you, you got to get liquidity from somewhere. And so there's this liquidity problem where,
yeah.
there's this concept that other people will set up nodes that'll be like liquidity providers almost, or basically what they're called is channel factories that'll just open up channels to other nodes to make sure they're all connected. But if that doesn't happen to you for like a month or 2 months, you're kind of just sitting there with a node and with nobody connected to you. So it's hard. It's hard to
Yeah.
get it to work. And even when you do, like I have my node up and running right now, It's still not very well connected, just because it's been around for a long time. And so I actually just recently pulled out. I had like 200
Mm.
bucks worth of Ethereum sitting on that node just to be able to open channels to other people, and
Hmm.
I just took it back off because I'm like, this isn't really doing what I need it to do, and I just want that
Yeah.
Bitcoin to go buy more hex or whatever. So I don't really. I'm kind of over the Lightning Network right now. I hope it gets better, but it's not too exciting right now.
Yeah, it's a similar. I only messed around with it for a few days, just to see. I'm certainly not anti Lightning Network, and I'm all for innovative uh, attempts to deal with scaling and stuff. They just got $10 million seed fund, so maybe they'll be able to do stuff. But like you say, right now it is so much more complicated to use and to set up than just sending Bitcoin. And so yeah, you can send an instant transaction, but it's just not simple enough to use much at this point.
The
So
main the main
hopefully they'll improve that or do something else or whatnot. But it's just not there yet in terms of actually wanting and being able to use it
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah, and I think the main problem with Lightning today is the inbound liquidity problem. So when you set up a
Mm-hmm.
node, you have funds that you fund from your main chain wallet onto your Lightning wallet, and it's almost like a different address, and functionally it's almost like a completely different coin at that point. Even though it's still Bitcoin, you're essentially locking up your Bitcoin and uh, committing it to the Lightning node. And when you start off with your node, you don't have any connections to other peers in the system. You have to go make those connections manually, or somebody has to make a connection to you,
Hmm.
and that's opening a channel. So if you open a channel outbound to somebody else, you have to fund that channel. You have to put up some of your own Bitcoin that you cannot spend. So if I wanted to open a channel with you, Paul, I'd have to put up, let's say, 0.02 Bitcoin in order for us to be able to transfer a maximum of like $150 between us, because that would be the
Right.
full liquidity of that channel. And now, if you were to send money to me, that would tip the favors a little bit in my favor, where now I would have a little bit more. But if nobody's opening up channels to you, I mean, it's just kind of like this chicken or the egg problem. Like, how many
Right.
people really have enough liquidity to just start opening channels all the time? And there was one or two people that were doing that. I mean, it was called lnbig.com was one of them, where they would
Mm-hmm.
just spin up nodes and connect out to as many people as they could. Um, but yeah, it's just kind of clunky, and like you're sitting there waiting around hoping that like somebody's going to connect to your node. And if you don't really like
Right.
advertise your own node, it's like nobody really knows to connect to you in the first place. So
Yeah, especially if your name isn't Alice or Bob.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, crypto coffee's drinking tea. I know. What a concept.
Oh, what kind of tea do you like?
Right now I got it's ginger and lemon, so pretty good. Caffeine free. I'm trying to take it easy a little bit on the caffeine.
Oh, good for you. I'm the opposite. I'm a pot a day coffee drinker.
Oh my god.
Uh, I love coffee.
No wonder you get so much shit done. But
Yeah, maybe.
going back to, I want to go back to your website actually really quick because I had a thought earlier, and it's got to do with this whole BTC claim FAQ and ETH transform. Uh,
Hmm.
so if you're like trying to adopt and onboard new people and you're out there, um, it probably does, just some advice, it probably is better to get them to just BTC claim first because that really is your freemium onboarding. And that's what I've seen
Hmm.
work. Really like a charm. I mean, you're not going to get that much hex for your BTC, but having something just kind of makes you want more of it. So it gets you kind of emotionally attached to this thing. And like, I think you're way better off taking the approach of, hey, what do you have to lose? If you've got like one Bitcoin or half a Bitcoin, just claim your free hex, man. And, you literally have nothing to lose, everything to gain. Then, imagine that they're
Yeah.
just holding their hex for a couple of days, a week, and it goes up 2x. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to want more. So, I mean, this is
That's a good
really
point.
just how you should start, I think. You shouldn't start with the ETH. You should start with the BTC.
Yeah, I wonder if I should switch because I think right now the get hex link takes you to the Ether one. Maybe I should switch it to the BT. I had it going to the BTC one at first when claims first opened. I mean, they're both easily accessible,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, you're right. It is defaulting to ETH, but probably not too big of a deal. They can just click over here.
Yeah, no, it's just as easy either way. That's interesting though that you're having more success that way. The problem I think, and it'll become more of a problem as time goes by, or not the problem, but there'll be fewer and fewer people that had BTC on December 2nd, 2019.
Yeah,
Um,
you're right. Especially if they haven't found out about it until right now. I mean, they didn't have time to
well,
prepare.
right, yeah, and I think that'll get more and more the case as time goes by. But certainly, yeah, it certainly is a way to get people onboarded, and the 90% auto stake I think is really smart because it forces you to kind of interact with the interface there and see how cool it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of cool stuff being built. Your app, your website are probably two of the coolest things going on right now. But I mean, we've also got like Hex Info, which is one of my favorite stat sites. I kind of like it better than Hex Stat just because it's more visually appealing, and they got this nice little conversion thing over here.
Mhm.
They're both great, but I mean, yeah, you can see here we're at 0.00039. I mean, my average buy-in, because I was kind of stupid at the beginning, my average price to buy in was I think 75. 0.000375 USD. So I'm already in the green. It's only been 2 months. I couldn't be happier about this. And
What's the URL for that? Hexinfo dot.
hexinfo.io,
Oh,
yeah,
sweet.
it's got pretty much all the same stats as hexstat.com. I just think it's a little bit nicer to read, I guess. Um,
Yeah, no, for sure. It's great how many stats sites have been flying up
yeah,
there. It's really awesome.
totally.
It, it's so encouraging that the community is just so active in building stuff that I mean, Hex at this point, I just don't see it dying because there's just so much activity within the community, and especially with how much more ether has been going into the adoption amplifier each
Yep.
day. Um, maybe that's a couple whales, or maybe it's a lot of adoption. I haven't been watching the size of the entries
Mm-hmm.
too closely, but either way, I think it bodes really well for Hex long term. I really didn't expect the price to go up as much as it
Dude, me
has
either.
this
Me
soon.
either. It's crazy. And I think, yeah, we've probably reached critical mass in terms of this thing not dying. I mean, definitely not critical mass in
Yeah.
terms of like your grandma's heard about Hex, but like, I mean, 2 months later, like, what more could you ask for? It's pretty great. What's the,
Yeah, there's one interesting thing we're talking about doing with the mobile app. Um, there's a company called Tangem who reached out to us, and mind you, there's nothing is in stone yet, but we're really kind of interested in doing something like this. I'd be interested in people's thoughts of. I think one of the cool things that you'll be able to do, or rather, one of the cool things that it would be nice to be able to do with Hex, would be to gift someone already staked Hex.
I think some
Um,
guy did that, right? I
the
saw some guy in the Hex chat that did something kind of similar. Like, he gave away just the private keys to like pre-staked Hex. He probably did it all manually, but
the trick is though, of course, he theoretically has or had the private keys at some point
mm.
in order to open the stake.
Oh, so you're talking about selling
Um,
pre-existing stakes as like a
You
gift.
could sell them, or you could gift them to someone, or you could hand them out as a promotion at a
Imagine
conference. But the
selling.
trick is, it has to be a scenario where the private keys only exist in one place. And what Tangem
Mm,
has is cards, little credit card sized cards with near field communication on smartphones. If you hold something up to it close, that has it. But these cards, they've created them, and they're not specific for Hex. There isn't one for Hex yet, but we're thinking of working with them. SteakHex working with them on something um, where basically in the card is a chip, a secure chip, and it actually has the ability to sign transactions on the card. And the card itself, there's no way to extract the private keys from
mm.
them, and it can generate its own private keys. So basically, what you have is a card with private keys on it that only exist in one place. And if I give you the card, you can be certain that I do not have the private keys because they've never been exposed, and there's no way to get them off the card. The trick is, of course, there's no way to back them up.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Um,
that would be tricky.
but
Also, aren't you kind of trusting the distributor of the card? I mean, in a way, I guess that's what we're doing with Ledger
Yeah,
Nano and everything
well,
else too. But
yes, although it can generate the keys on the card. But yes, at the end of the day, you're trusting Ledger, you're trusting Trezor, you're trusting. At the end of the day, you are trusting the hardware manufacturer at some point.
yeah,
Um,
still, that's very cool though.
no, it's cool. So we're thinking about doing that. We might do. The trick is the manufacturing cost of the cards isn't free,
Mm,
so there's a little bit upfront. But what we might do is Indiegogo or something where people can basically, if we get enough people interested with enough funding, then we'll be able to get a batch of them. So anyway, we're playing around with ideas with that, but I think that'll be one of the interesting, if something like that works, where you'd be able to gift already staked hex.
yep.
So like if I had a niece or nephew and on their birthday I wanted to give them a 10-year stake, and then on, so it'll be there for them in 10
Yeah,
years.
that'd be awesome.
You could do that.
What can you ever see somebody potentially paying a premium for pre-staked hex? Like,
Yes, that's the
right.
other thing, because earlier people get a better share
Mm-hmm.
price, and so you could, um, like, someone could order, if someone was feeling entrepreneurial, if we get this going with them, what they could do is order a bunch of them, get a good share price, and then down the road sell them at a
Yep.
premium. Uh, uh, so yeah, I think there's lots of interesting stuff there. It's the trick is we'd have to kind of add it to the app and build the stuff for it. They've got a great SDK, but so like I say, there's nothing set in stone yet. But I think that I think we might work something out with them, and I think it'll we'll see. It might be really cool.
Yeah, it has got a lot of potential for sure. I would buy one.
Yeah.
I would buy a few just for gifts.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you mentioned Indiegogo, so I think I'll segue into that right now because I'm sure everyone's going to want an update on my own personal campaign. Um, so you might have seen a little bit less posting and shilling for the Indiegogo campaign in the chat. And reason being is because Indiegogo it's tough, man. But we've actually had a great positive response from the whole community. And we've raised over $4,000 in the first 30 days towards this PR campaign that I've been trying to fund. And just to give a quick update to everyone, first of all, thanks again if you did donate. And we've got kind of a smaller group of individuals. There's about 10 or 12 of us in a chat right now talking about how to approach this campaign and what to do from here. We were able to pool together a lot of money just on our end over there and basically get it up to $4,000. So we kind of like doubled our investment from 2K to 4K just between us 10. And so we've got all this Ethereum and all this USD put up right now. And, I was talking to Wayne from Bitcoin PR Buzz. So I'll pull up their website right here. This is the company that we originally wanted to do our PR for us. They're the oldest company in the crypto space, been around 7 years, 800 plus clients. And they've got all these mainstream, international, and crypto news sites that they post PRs on. And so apparently, Wayne gets back to me saying that it didn't pass their quote-unquote compliance check, which I highly doubt is a real thing. But what I'm thinking happened is he said his CEO was not willing to participate in this because he thought it was a scam. And my
Oh,
guess is that he just read the first page of Google like most people. And so even the PR companies themselves are falling to their own kind of bullshit articles and taking that as
jeez.
facts. So, I mean, it's really just, that was disappointing, but it's not to say that this is over by any means at all. It's more of just a road bump in the whole grand scheme of things. And I know Wayne really does want to take our money. Like he's verbatim said to me that he was very excited to work together, and that the reason that he unfortunately couldn't was because of this compliance test that we apparently did not meet. So I asked him about more details because I'm not just gonna like take that as an
Yeah.
answer. Um, and he's trying to get the details out of his CEO because apparently he wasn't really even told why not either. So I sent him a whole bunch of good, unbiased news. I sent him like the copy of the audit and basically anything helpful in terms of Richard Hart videos, Medium articles that just explain the actual truth about Hex. And I'm just kind of talking to him, waiting to hear his response about, after I provided all that information to him, I was basically like, hey, just wondering if you can, show this to whoever you need to, and just let me know what you think. And if it's still a no, that's fine. We've got some backup plans in the works, but kind of surprising to see. And I guess hindsight really isn't that surprising because these guys are chasing clicks, right? And if it bleeds, it leads, So a project like Hex is, I don't know, it's kind of an easy target to call a scam. But that's the exact type of thing that we're trying to combat with all the funds that we've raised. And so we've got a second backup company in the works. It's called Publicize. It's the British spelling of Publicize, so I think there's a Z in there, or a C instead of a Z. But yeah, so talking to this other guy, Freddie from Publicize, and he might be able to get something up for us a little bit faster than Wayne. But we'll see between these two guys, what comes out of it. But that's where we're at with that. And another backup plan, too, would be just potentially doing YouTube advertising. So we've got this plan to, and I'm actually testing it out right now, actually do stealth advertising on YouTube to various crypto influencers. So we can specifically target their channels and show Hex videos as like display ads. So in like the up next section, we could advertise that way, too. So that's what's going on right now.
Once you have something kind of more lined up, let me know, because I definitely want SteakHex to contribute a good portion once it's more finalized and stuff. You know how much more you need and stuff, but I definitely want SteakHex to contribute a good bit to it because helps all of us.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Definitely appreciate that. And it is
whenever you have something final, let's do another stream.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely will. And I kind of told the main group of guys that are behind this, myself included, to kind of pull the brakes on posting the Indiegogo link in the chat, just because we've already raised quite a bit of money, and I don't want to take any more incoming money right now necessarily until I have a final direction, and I could say with 100% confidence that, hey, this is going to happen. Right, because then we got to get into refunds and all that stuff, and I'd rather just put this money to good use before calling it quits and essentially giving up. So that's where we're at, in case anyone didn't know. Basically, we've got 2 PR companies in the works, one waiting on a response to see why they did not want to work with us. One was actually drafting a strategy for us, which he's going to call me about on Monday, so I'm excited to see what he's got. And then also, as an even further backup, the YouTube stealth advertising campaign is another potential option. So between all that, I've also reached out to an additional 5 or 6 PR companies. So if any of them get back to me, that's always another option too. We kind of did shoot for the best PR company in the space, so kind of not surprising that they want to be skeptical of these things and they don't want to promote any scams. But I think if I'm able to, reasonably talk to the guy and send him all the best information that we have, I think he's smart enough to draw his own conclusion, hopefully, that this really isn't your typical scam project. And to be honest, they've promoted way worse things in the past, like bitcasino.com and all this stuff. So if that's like, where's your moral compass exactly here? So.
Yeah, no, that's thanks for doing all that. I think it's great that you're really pushing hard on getting that to happen. And yeah, it is sad that people at this point, it was that first month, it was just the trendy thing to do. Hex was so hot on YouTube to talk smack about without actually researching it at all. And it's just, there's a great post a week or two ago by the CEO of Cointelligence, basically calling on everyone in the crypto space to stop throwing the word scam around haphazardly, because one of the worst things about doing that is not only that, okay, well, you're going to call good project scams, but the other thing is, if you cry wolf too many times, if you're calling everything a scam, even projects that someone knows, hey, that one's not a scam, then they're going to stop listening. And so when you actually call out scams, they're going to say, well, why would I trust you? You've already called out non-scams as scams, so your opinion is not one that I can take seriously. And so warning people about things like OneCoin becomes a lot harder to do with credibility.
Yeah, you're taking the validity out of the word and just stripping it of its
Right.
meaning, which scam is like my least favorite word right now just because of the way it's tossed around, and it's honestly pretty annoying at this point to me to hear that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, I mean, if you don't like a project, say you don't like a project. If you think it's a bad investment, say you think it's a bad
yeah,
investment. But scam, don't throw that word around because
yeah,
it robs it of its power, and it needs to be a powerful word so that we can protect people.
yeah. And one of like Richard's thoughts that actually has some merit is his definition of scam, and I think the most important part of that definition is it implies deceit and fraud, right? So
Yeah, and intent.
and yeah, malicious intent. So if it has those qualities, sure, we can go there. We can call it that. But I mean, if you look around, if you've ever watched a Richard Hart live stream before, the dude's not going to run away and go hide in a castle on his own and sit on a big pile of cash and just laugh at everybody. I mean, I don't think this is a guy that wants to watch the world burn and just like crash his own
I
project.
definitely agree. That said, if he did decide to do that, Hex would still survive.
Oh yeah,
Um, I mean, like you say, I don't think he's got no reason to do that. He's got every reason to stick around. Not only because Hex is more likely to succeed, meaning he can, profit most, but it's his baby. He worked on it for
yeah,
years, and and
2 years.
props to him for building this amazing thing because he got it done. No
Yep.
one else has, and so props to him. But and so I think he's going to stick around. But one of the great things though about Hex is that because it's done, because it's a deployed smart contract, even if Richard decided to do what you said and go off in a castle and hide and disappear, that okay, fine. Hex is still good.
Yeah, yeah, or he could get hit by a bus or whatever. The contract's still up there.
Yeah. If there was an exit, the exit was the day it was deployed. Done.
Yep, exactly. And I mean, haven't you read the news? I mean, we've already exited. There's here. Let me pull up a Hex
Right.
scam article. Hex exit scam. So this makes me laugh because it's like you've got this headline that's like Hex was an exit scam. Look, the ETH is gone. It was obviously an exit scam. And it's like, okay, well then, can we stop talking about it? If it's an exit scam, then he's already exited, and we can all shut up now because like there's nothing left to be said. So
Yeah.
I mean, watch another
Yeah. There
article
could
like
be an
this.
exit, but there's not a way for it to be a scam. It's impossible because even if like I just said, if he left, Hex is fine. It doesn't require him anymore.
Yeah. Oh, and here's another one of the, the most ridiculous points that I find hilarious too. Hex is down 93.6% from its all-time high. This fact is probably true for any single coin in existence in its first like month or two after being listed on an
Right.
exchange, because, I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, when the very first price that gets registered on an exchange is the very first price that anybody chooses to buy or sell at, which usually happens to be a very, very small amount at a ridiculously high price, which will put it'll tend to put the first candle way astronomically high. Um, and then from there, of course, you could say it's down 99%. Like, it's just too easy. Like, I don't understand why that is. I don't even understand why that was written on a news site. Like, how is that news?
Yeah. It's just silly because like especially in the first, like you say, in the first few days, if you clear out the order book and someone was like just gonna put a sell at this crazy high price, someone who's not paying attention goes in and market buys. Boom, you've got a new all-time high.
Yeah.
And yeah, when on the first day when there's a few $1,000s worth of liquidity, look at any new token for
Mm.
their first couple days.
Yep.
It's there's no price discovery yet. There's no yeah. And either the funny thing though was so many people were like, "Oh my god, it's down at one Satoshi." And it's like, "Yeah." And now like 2 days ago it was up at 6, I think, 5 at least. Uh
Yeah. Let's take any other random
they
coin. Like, let's just take, I don't know, name a coin.
uh go with check EOS since that's one of the ones that has a most similar distribution model. Watch their first couple days were totally different. But no, I would say that might be one that has a similar flow, and that is now incredibly successful. It's top 10, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at the top 10 in a few days, but pretty sure it is. Let's scroll all the way back as long as we can. Do the weekly chart. And yeah, so if we zoom in on this week, which was the first time it was ever listed on Binance, and we just switch that back to daily. All right. Well, you guys can see this giant wick here, right? If you look all the way at the very first candle on Binance, like, this candle rose from 1,000 Satoshis to 2,800 Satoshis after being listed on Binance. And this probably wasn't the first exchange it was listed on either. So this happens every time a coin is listed on any exchange, regardless of it.
Yeah, look at that green candle on day one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, it had an all-time high that it didn't meet for several weeks after that.
Right. Which is essentially the same thing that's happening to Hex right now. But, that's just how it goes. So
right.
That's the state of crypto, really, with low liquidity markets like this.
Right, exactly. And now Hex does not have low liquidity. I mean, comparatively, but come on, $500,000 every day.
Yeah.
In volume, trading volume.
Yeah. Pretty absurd.
It's crazy. It's doing great. I love it. I'm so stoked. I'm so stoked.
Every time I look at this chart, I'm just like, oh my god! Like, I feel lucky to have gotten in on the ground floor of something so good. Which usually things this good will catch my eye years down the line, so I'll pretty much have missed them. But this is going to be a good one, I think.
Yeah, I'm not one of the people that does a lot of trading of altcoins and stuff. I really like Litecoin, so a large amount of my portfolio is that. But I'm not someone who, looks for whatever new alt is going to spike. Hex I liked early on because I loved. I didn't get in because I thought, oh, this might pump really good and I can make good profit. Hex is an awesome project. The way that it is similar to certificates of deposit is incredible, because that's how we start to get serious adoption, is by actually doing what banks do in the real world in a proper cryptocurrency way that is trustless and non-custodial. Hex is awesome. It is, we got in on the ground floor, so I think we're poised to do quite well. But I didn't get in just because, oh, good, this is going to pump. I think, obviously, I've got quite a few stakes that are super long, because I think Hex is going to work long term.
Same here. If we're going for the whole DeFi meme and we're going to try to decentralize finance, right, you're going to have to start with all the products at a bank. And people in the real world are looking for returns, and they're looking for consistent ROI. And there's pretty much nothing consistent in crypto. But I mean, a cryptocurrency where you lock up and increase your stack based on time, I mean, it does monetize time, and that's just how the real world works too. I mean, $1 invested now is worth more than $1 invested in the future, because every day that goes by where you're not putting that dollar to work, it's essentially losing value. So what you want is that guaranteed ROI for monetizing your time and essentially putting your money now to work for you, so that in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, you can pull it out and you'll have actually made some gains on it. I mean, those gains will be in Hex, but I mean, people seem to think that something can't have value if it's, just printed out of thin air. It's like, that's what Bitcoin was. I mean, that's what all this stuff is.
That's right.
So if enough people think it does have value, it will. And so,
and plus, I mean, the main investment advice that people give to new folks in it, and even old folks that they do a lot of, is hodling. Is buy your Bitcoin, buy whatever, and then stack your sats and then sit on them, because they're going to be worth more in the future. And it's a good bet, because Bitcoin, it keeps having its bubbles with a higher low every time it pops. So I think it's a good bet that it is going to keep going up in value. But every time, as time goes by, you're holding less Bitcoin compared to the total supply, because there's more Bitcoin getting introduced into the supply that's being paid out to miners and sold on exchanges. So that's the trick, is you're holding less Bitcoin. So if, let's say, Bitcoin finally reached a point of stable price, roughly, which it probably will at some point, then hodling, you're just losing value over time. And with Hex, as with the reason people do certificates of deposit in the real world, so that you can try to beat inflation.
Yep.
Hex solves that. So
Hmm.
it's like hodling,
Exactly.
but designed right.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. What do you think about the current staking percentage? I'm just curious because I know that we used to be at something kind of crazy, like 85% staked, and since about a month ago, we've been slowly decreasing that, and now we're sitting at 25% not staked. I think that's totally fine personally. I think we could even handle a little bit bigger piece of that pie being not staked. But I just wanted to know what you think about that number essentially doubling over the past 30 days.
Interesting. I actually hadn't seen that. That is interesting. You know what else is very interesting is that that's happened and the price has gone up.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
theoretically, the more, like I wonder if the price would have gone up more had the staking percentage stayed at 85 rather than 75, where it looks like it is roughly now.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, if there's a higher percentage of
huh, that is
people
interesting.
staked, you can be more certain that those people can't sell. But what we had is actually the reverse of what you would think, which is less people are staking, meaning there's more certainty that anybody can dump these coins, and yet the price is higher than it's been since uh, pretty much higher than it's ever been if you don't count the first week. Um, yeah. I mean, we're at all time
That's
highs
super
minus the
cool.
first week. So,
I mean, this is what's going to be so cool with Hex is watching that percentage fluctuate. Because I'm not surprised it is fluctuating because people are going to figure out at any given time whether it's more profitable to stake and collect more hex
hmm.
or whether it's more profitable to be trading. And so I think it is going to fluctuate. It'll probably reach after a few years or maybe 10 years or 15, who knows. It'll probably reach a point of rough stability,
Hmm.
but certainly for the first good few years I think that staking percentage is going to go up and down and up and down.
Hmm.
uh, and there also might go down or up suddenly, especially after the launch phase, after big payday. I expect the staking percentage is going to drop super low for a couple days.
Mm.
I'm just guessing here.
Yep.
I'm not a market analyst, but
Yeah.
and I've been wrong so far because I didn't think Hex would go up in price this fast. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if what happens after the launch phase, when a lot of people have ended their stakes, a lot of people who are using the adoption amplifier, if the staking percentage shoots down for a couple days, meanwhile people are buying hex at the super discount from all of those people doing that, and then suddenly it's probably going to shoot up again because there's no reason that it would necessarily gradually go up or down. If there are a lot of stakes ending at once, it's going to shoot down at least for a day.
Yeah, and actually, that
Uh,
was kind of what I was planning on too. Again, I've been very wrong with these kinds of things, so don't listen to this as advice. But I'm planning on saving a little bit of my stack unstaked, about 10% of it, just to be able to sell it before I think the big dump is going to happen on or around day 353. So I'm definitely going to want to buy back in, but I do want just to kind of hopefully try to time the market in that sense, which with my track record really isn't too great. So maybe I'm being an idiot here, but that's what I'm going to try to do.
I hear that.
Yeah.
No, I've actually talked to a few people who are kind of thinking similarly in that if the price goes up during the launch phase, which it already has, but if it continues to fluctuate and stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up quite a bit right as it's leading up to big payday
Yep.
because people are going to want to get in, get hex staked for that day. Um, and so I have a feeling that leading up to it, price might go up pretty high. And yeah, there might be some serious value in selling during that period and then rebuying at a lower price after that. And you might end up with more hex than if you had staked it and collected the big payday.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I will see. You're not the only person I've heard that from. So I think they're yeah, I don't. You might be spot on.
Yeah. Well, time will tell, right? I see a comment in the
Yeah,
chat.
we'll find out.
Someone says Google advertising mixed with YouTube advertising would be nice. Let me just.
They'll kick you off though, won't
They
they? Are
might.
you allowed to advertise crypto?
Yeah. Let me tell you my experience so far. So I, I tried to, use Google Ads to post a video to get ranks for SEO when anyone searches like Hex Crypto and all that stuff. I tried to use one of my own personal videos, but the title of that video and the description were very, very shilly because that was actually the first video I made, and I made it on a different account, which I'm no longer using, because it got banned instantly. Because I think the title of the video was "How to Be a Shillionaire" or something like that. So I don't know what I was thinking, trying to slide that one by Google, but again, hindsight's 2020. Not surprised that one got
Sure.
banned. I think the first line of the description was like, stake it till you make it.
Wait, what was the grounds for that being banned? I haven't tried to advertise on Google, so I don't know. I just have heard, anecdotal stories like that. What was their reasoning for banning that?
I think it falls under a very general bucket of just crypto advertising. They don't want
Oh,
a
okay.
lot of, or it was like gambling or something like that. Um,
Hmm.
but I think it was really just the title and the way that I was talking about it in the video that got that kicked off, because I
Got it.
actually started a new account, a fresh account. I'm looking at it right now, but it's not up on the screen. And I'm going for a little bit of a different tactic, which was recommended to me. But basically, this is what you can do in Google Ads is you can select placement of display ads for videos, specifically on YouTube, and you can specifically target individual channels to place your display ads on. And so rather than being like that 5-second skippable ad that you sometimes see if you don't have YouTube Premium, I didn't want those. I didn't think those would be very effective because there's really no 5-second version of Hex that I've seen that works well. So I'm posting one of Richard's old videos as a display ad on different accounts like Altcoin Daily, Chris Dunn, Crush the Street, Crypto Beatles, Omar, the
Yeah.
Crypt Zero guy. And I'm taking all these bigger channels, and I'm saying, hey, I want you to put this. I'm using the altcoin Sarah and Richard Hart talk Hex in Malta. I'm using that one because there's a pretty girl on the front. Richard's right there in a tuxedo. They're outside. It looks harmless. It looks interesting. And basically, anyone that's frequently going to these guys' channels, they're going to see this video in their up next column. It's going to be an ad, but they're going to see it. And so I only put $20 in there of my own money just to see what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Didn't get banned. It's enabled right now. It's actually running. And out of 3.83K impressions, it looks like I've got 134 views. So the view rate is about
Wow.
3.5%, and the average cost per view is 8 cents. So we'll see if that changes over time. 100% male, 97% mobile phones. So I'm kind of just learning what the ideal target audience will be for this, and kind of learning how to use Google Ads, so that when we
Yeah.
talk about where those funds should go, let's say if the PR companies end up not working out, this does seem like a very viable option so far, and I'm kind of looking forward to being able to actually give you guys some numbers about, what can we actually have the potential to do, and what's realistic, because I think as long as we don't write things like how Hex is going to make you rich overnight or anything like that in the title, I think we can slide these by Google's algorithm and really just
Yeah.
market them as I forgot what category I said this was. I think it was brand awareness. So it's just a brand
Hmm.
awareness ad, very harmless. And if you've ever heard about Hex and you see that little thumbnail up in your corner, and it's got a picture of a girl and Richard Hart, in some kind of a tropical climate, I think you're probably going to click on it. So it's been working so far, and I haven't got banned yet, but we'll see.
Huh. Cool.
Yeah, yeah,
That's really neat.
yeah,
I hope it sticks around. I hope it works well.
yeah. And like we can keep finding more. There's plenty of content out there from Richard, and we can just find the
Yeah.
ones that look and are the most harmless in terms of, I wouldn't put the Peter McCormick one up there, for example, but you know,
I watched one of those with him for the first time the other day. I can't remember if it was the first or the second, but oh my god.
that was tough, dude. That was tough
That
for me to
was
watch.
it was so painful to watch because uh I mean, I don't know what Peter McCormick was thinking when oh my god, that guy just got wrecked. I don't even like using that terminology, but man, that was rough.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
don't know what he was
I
thinking.
mean, so at first I lost a lot of respect for Peter on that one because he came in,
Yeah.
literally with no rhyme or reason, just pure tribal, like chanting the word scam, and like as if that was gonna be good for his follower base. But I lost a lot of credibility for him on that one. And then in the follow
I
up,
expect I expect a lot of his followers learned about Hex and saw how poor or non-existent his arguments against it were, and got involved thanks to him. So who knows? Maybe there's probably a good chance that he really contributed to early adoption by making criticism of Hex look so
dumb.
bad.
Yeah,
It was just, oh my god, what a mess. Poor guy. It's his own fault.
yeah. And then he comes back on, uninvited to another one, and then Richard went off, which I almost wish he would have held back a little bit. Although I was laughing my ass off the whole time. But I don't think a lot of other people are. Some people aren't comfortable with that kind of a language, you know. But I think he did have it coming, so it was nice to see that. You know,
He joined the stream uninvited, and he was trolling the same way he was before. I mean, what do you? Uh, yeah, I don't think it was. I don't. I guess if you didn't have the context of the previous one, you could be off put
right?
by Richard's response. But certainly with the context of the previous one, Peter earned that on his own.
Yeah, yeah, and then he'll go basically shill for things like BlockFi, which take your private keys and invest your money for you, and might lose it all. So, you know, the whole moral argument against Hex versus like any of these other companies. I mean, we're out there. He's out there promoting stuff like new banks. Like I saw a Tone Vase video the other day where he's out there promoting a crypto credit card, which I've done before too. But if we're gonna be like all about the decentralization, the anonymity, the self sovereignty of crypto, like what we're essentially doing in reality is just making new banks and new custodians that hold your money for you. And they're happy to hold your
Yeah,
Bitcoin because they know it's going to go up in value. They're happy to take out loans and invest it and everything, as long as you give away all your rights and they can spy on your data and see what transactions you're doing. So I'm also trying
yeah.
I'm trying to shill credit cards over here too, so I can't really talk too loud. I mean, I do own a crypto.com card, but I'm fully aware that every transaction I make on that card, that data is being sold to other companies,
Right.
and I'm
Yeah.
probably targeted now for more crypto things than I used to be because I chose to make myself, I chose to de-anonymize myself with that.
Yeah. Yeah. At least with those purchases and whatnot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Well,
Yeah.
what's new? What's on your mind with Hex these days? What are you most excited about?
With Hex or outside of Hex?
Let's go both.
Uh, with Hex, I'm just excited about that the price went up. I'm not selling any for a good, at least not. Well, I might start doing what you were suggesting, which is get a little bit ready for before big payday. But other than that, I'm staking Hex for 1 year, 2 year. Just stakes of different lengths and. Uh, uh, but so the fact that the price went up this early just bodes super well for adoption long term. Um, let's see. That's what I'm excited about with Hex. Outside of Hex, let's see. There's an interesting project, Decentraland,
I've
that
heard
is
of that.
launching publicly. You have heard of
I
it?
have, yeah. Don't they have their own coin, like in-game currency, like mana or something?
Yeah. Litecoin Moses turned me on to this. He and I have done a couple podcasts together. If you look on my Twitter, and he's launched. We recorded another one the other day, and we talked about it more in depth. But so check that out when that comes
Okay.
out. But Decentraland, basically, it was in middle of 2017, and what they are building is a virtual world on the Ethereum blockchain. They've got an ERC20 token called Mana. I don't know if it's an ERC20 token called Mana. But the world, basically, it's a real world with parcels of land, tens of thousands of them. It's a big grid square with main roads and stuff. But you can buy a parcel of land. It's attached to your Ethereum address, and you can build. It's like a VR. game world. It's kind of like Second Life combined with Minecraft combined with almost The Sims a little bit. Although you're playing, you know, it's actual humans. And it's going to be it's I think right now they don't have VR plugged in, but they're building it to be VR compatible. But yeah, so you can buy a parcel of land and build using Blender or whatever 3D software, whatever. And they've got like a user friendly builder for people who are not designers. Um, but it's fascinating. There's a company that already is providing mortgages. So if you want to buy some parcels of land and can't actually afford them, because the cheapest right now that people are selling for is like the equivalent of $600.
Hmm.
Um, and the more expensive ones, there have been parcels of land or multiple sets, I don't know, but that have sold for equivalent of a couple $100,000.
That's insane.
Um,
I mean,
yeah,
virtual
it's
land,
pretty
like,
amazing.
wow.
Uh, so they've been developing that. They have been in a beta for the past, I don't know, half year or so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they're doing a full launch this month on the 20th. And it's a fascinating project just because it almost, in a lot of ways, is a test bed for these sorts of use cases of cryptocurrency like mortgages and like title ownership that could be used in the real world or leveraged in a similar way in the real world for ownership of cars or land or whatnot. Except it's all on the blockchain and it's all real. And there might be big companies that buy advertising space. I mean, I could get a parcel of
Yeah.
land, put a billboard there,
Yep.
and rent it out.
I know. That's wasn't there some kind of like commercial that just came out? It was like a Super Bowl commercial where they were in like a VR world and like I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of a Rick and Morty episode. I can't remember. But
I don't know.
they were in some kind of virtual world and like you see a blimp go over for like Coca-Cola and it's like we're just going to be living in this crazy new environment that we're going to get advertised to in ways we've never thought of. And we're also going to have ownership of
Yeah,
things that we never previously thought had value. I mean, parcels of land going
right.
for 100K, like that's some 1984 stuff. But
Yeah, that's not even like real estate. It's all virtual, but it's on, it's decentralized. It's not going anywhere, and you have proof of ownership with it being attached to your keys. And like I said, there's already a company doing mortgages. There's the ability, they've created smart contracts so that you could rent your parcel to someone
mm-hmm.
who wants to build something and then just collect rent. Like it's so that's an interesting project. I don't have any time to put into it. I've gotten a little bit of their token mana, um,
Yeah, I think
and
it
I'll
pumped
just be
recently.
watching from the sidelines for a good while. But anyway, it's an interesting project. Will be interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I'm more interested in other DeFi projects that are really only because of Hex. I mean, Hex is the reason that I started looking back into this stuff in general. And I think
Hmm.
one of them that's pretty cool is Compound.finance, where you can actually earn interest on your DAI stable token at a rate of like
Oh,
between
cool.
5 and 8%. And I don't know the exact mechanism behind it. Maybe they lend it back out or something, but it just makes
That's a
DAI.
pretty high return rate on over what time period?
I think it's you can kind of just take it in and out whenever you want, which is even better. Like it's you
Huh.
put it into a pool, and I don't think you have to lock it in for any certain time, but I might be wrong on that. Compound.finance is pretty cool. That's kind of on top of Make or Die.
Do they have a publicly viewable and a smart contract and stuff?
Yeah, I think it's at the bottom of their site if I remember correctly.
That's interesting. I'll have to check it out. That return rate. I mean, I guess who knows what depends on the inflation rate of the currency and stuff.
Yeah, you
But
can. The code base is all on GitHub.
it seems like a very high. Okay, cool.
They
That's
link
good.
to it. I can
Uh,
send it to you in the
uh,
chat if you have a spare minute, which I'm sure you're super busy. But yeah, Compound
no,
Finance
no.
is cool. What else is cool? I think Synthetics is pretty cool. Basically, synthetic digital assets backed by Ethereum and SNX token, I think. So you can actually trade like Apple stock or XAUD,
Oh, that's
but
cool.
a synthetic version of them to basically, I mean, bypass different laws of different countries or um, anything else. But that would be the best use case for me. Would be just to be able to go long on Tesla without having to go tell TD Ameritrade that I'm doing that. you know?
Sure. Man, there's so much cool stuff going on in crypto. It is so strange to me. Uh, some of these Bitcoin maximalists, how much they are like anti-innovation. Uh,
Absolutely.
I
It's
mean, I think you can make a good argument that most tokens end up being worth nothing.
yeah,
Um,
sure.
but there are things that Bitcoin can't do that are quite easy to do with smart contracts on platforms like Ethereum, and like I just don't understand how these people who should be innovators in this amazing new space called crypto, who are so anti anything other than Bitcoin, which is Bitcoin is limited. It very well might stick around forever and be the the gold standard of crypto, but there's other stuff going on that's so fascinating that isn't
Yeah.
possible on Bitcoin. It's
Yeah.
not going to kill Bitcoin. They do different things.
hmm
But I just don't understand this attitude of everything sucks except Bitcoin.
Yeah, and
It's so closed minded and anti innovation.
right. I mean, I totally agree, but speaking from somebody that's gone through the maximalism phase, I went through a little bit of altcoin hatred myself. I mean, I wasn't very vocal about it because I didn't want to, rain on anyone else's parade if they were doing something that I
Mhm.
wasn't aware of. But in the years of 2018, well, pretty much just the year of 2018, was when I was lucky enough to pull out before getting totally wrecked by the bear market. Still felt quite a little bit of pain though, but yeah, I was kind of feeling more maximal-ish at that time, just because there were so many scams out there and so many projects with no returns, and it was kind of a slap to reality, which I'm very grateful for looking back. That it taught me a lot about what to look for, and instead of looking for white papers and you know investors and VCs and fake partnerships. I think going forward, as 2019 rolled around, I started to open my mind back up to the potential that there could be something else out there. And now I look for
Yeah.
things like completed project. What does it do? Has it been audited? Have other people looked at it? How many people are working on it? Not who's on the team, but how many people are working on it. Stuff like GitHub commits and all that. More tangible, fundamental value than just
Hmm.
how does their website look and all that.
Right.
So I think, yeah, at this point, I've gone from the maximalists, watching too much Tone Vays probably, and I've surpassed that and gone right back into, like Richard would say, a maximal-ish type of mentality where it's like, I want there to
Right.
be other cool stuff out there, just show it to me. And
Right. No, exactly.
but a lot of times, I mean, we're in 2020 now. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff out there that I didn't even realize was being built in this entire 2 years prior to existing. So it's great to see that there's actual working products up now, and that we actually are carrying through on the DeFi promise with Ethereum. Because for a while, and,
Yeah.
and I work with developers all day long, so like we actually built at my company, we built an app that is basically a peer-to-peer incentivization platform that lets you send digital coins to each other, and it's built on the Ethereum blockchain. And it was really meant to be a way to just make work more fun by expressing gratitude for one another by just giving these little tokens. In addition to being a way for us to kind of prove our blockchain expertise and tell potential clients that hey, we know blockchain and all that. So obviously we didn't really need a blockchain to build this
Hmm.
platform, but we just wanted to try our hand at building something on a blockchain. And at the
Yeah.
beginning, in the kind of architectural phase, we'd been looking through all the different potential options of, Hyperledger, or can we build it on top of Bitcoin? And the answer was very quickly no. We can't do anything with Bitcoin. Like we can't have these layer two things that everyone's trying to, say that one day might happen. And we had to go with Ethereum
Yeah.
just because there's simply more documentation and more people working on it, and it's more open ended for people to extend upon than really Bitcoin or any of those other third party ones too. You just want to go to the platform with the most people working on it and the most documentation. So
Yeah.
that was kind of a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago now, where I started to realize, okay, well, Bitcoin's great, but if you want to do anything else in crypto on a blockchain and get that kind of decentralized, kind of bootstrap that decentralized aspect of it and that censorship resistant aspect, you're going to need something like Ethereum. Or I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to promote like Tron or anything like that, but you're going to need something that's not Bitcoin.
Yeah, it Bitcoin can't do everything. It's as simple as that. And that's fine. That's not a shortcoming of Bitcoin. It's good. It was the first token, the first proof of concept in working a blockchain with the proof of work being demonstrated. It's certainly got the most hash power now. Um, it I'm not anti-Bitcoin, but it just can't do everything,
Yeah.
and that's fine. Let other stuff do other stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
But people,
I was thinking yesterday. I think part of sometimes there's a mentality, and I say this because I think earlier in my career as a software developer, sometimes you could get fatigued by how much new stuff was coming out,
hmm
and you would just wish, like, dude, I'm an expert in X. I don't have time to learn Y, Z, A, one.
hmm
Like, why can't everyone just use PHP? And the answer is, well, because PHP sucks for tons of stuff.
yeah.
Um, and so I had to, and luckily, I'm effectively entirely. I started working on web development stuff in high school, and I'm one of the people that's entirely self-taught. Self-taught meaning read the book, not in a classroom, but
Yeah.
ultimately still standing on the shoulders of giants, obviously.
Right.
Um, so I compared to some people who come out with computer science degrees that are um, the thing is they've got the theory. Whenever I've built teams, it's really valuable to have like at least one person who has a computer science degree,
hmm
because the new kids coming out of boot camps and stuff are super fast and learn new things fast, but build they have no architectural understanding of building something that's good for enterprise and long term maintainable.
hmm
But so if you get a team that has a combination, then those young guys kind of pull out from the software engineer this mentality of, hey, let's build cool new stuff.
hmm
And meanwhile, he or she is able to help them really make design things well.
hmm
But point is, I've had to teach myself the computer sciencey theory stuff and proper design patterns and so forth. Um, uh, but I'm more of the mentality of learning fast and building new stuff fast. But it's there. I know that at points, especially early on, there were times when I was like, I can't learn all of these new JavaScript frameworks. Like, why is there a new one every day? As there still
Yeah.
is. Um, and you don't have to learn all of them, but you certainly have to be open to learning new things that do better. You should build new things with the right technology for it.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm all about AWS's serverless architecture for web applications. It is so
Yep.
cool, and saves costs and can be so fast. All of SteakHex, the website, the APIs, everything on it, user management. The community is by a company called Moot, but all of the that's just for like posting. All of the user management and APIs for the mobile app, that's all serverless and with a Node.js on the back end, and it's so cool. And DynamoDB is so fast. So I've loved working with AWS's serverless architecture. I've been playing with that for a few years now, and it basically since they first launched it, and it is just so cool and so inexpensive.
hmm
Uh, the company I work for, the rest of my time, my full time job, in fact,
hmm
uh, is when we started the transition to serverless, the cost savings were like just massive compared to having all of these server instances running
Yeah.
24/7.
Totally.
Uh,
Yeah. I mean, GCP is great for that too. Google Cloud Platform.
yeah, I haven't worked with Google Platform much, but I would like to, just because there's so much that's analogous to AWS, and I'd like to have the experience. Yeah, keep going though.
Oh, I was just saying with GCP, that's kind of what I'm working in right now, and we're building kind of a voice app, which is really cool with their software dialogue flow, which is kind of
Hmm.
similar to Lex from Amazon. But we're actually building an application that's purely voice, and so you can someone like me that's a little less technical can go in there and like actually make commits to the code all through the GUI, and put like synonyms in there for different words and entities and create intents and
Hmm.
hook everything up. And it just makes it so seamless and easy. So yeah, if you're not learning new stuff like this, I mean, it's you're gonna get left behind, and you're not gonna really be able to. I mean, it's just more fun too. You might as well learn this new stuff every once in a while
Yeah,
after it's been validated. I
absolutely.
mean, I think stuff like GCP, Azure, AWS, they've stood the test of time enough to provided enough benefit to be valid. And same thing is true with Ethereum as well at this point. It's
Yep.
been around, it's been through its changes, and it's always improving. But yeah, you got to stay open minded to that. I've had people suggest to me
Yeah.
that, why don't we? We're trying to stand up a blockchain capability at my current company, and we have people that are actually kind of maximalists at my job, and they say, well, why can't we just build all this stuff on Bitcoin? And I'm like, dude, like we tried with we tried with our own
Yeah.
internal crypto, and it didn't work. So if you want to tell me how to do that, I'm all ears. But I don't think they really know or understand either. So
Yeah.
it's more of an issue of actually going in there, trying to do it, and then realizing that, oh wait, I can't. So
Well, that's one of the things I've loved about Hex is I didn't know much about Ethereum up until I got involved with Hex, and then I read Andreas's book Mastering
oh, you did?
Ethereum, which came out basically right before I got involved, and it's just opened my eyes to so much of the Ethereum ecosystem and Solidity's shortcomings and where they're going.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
the very first thing I built, I'm not a developer, but I did a really quick Hello World kind of application
Hmm.
on Ethereum using like Truffle and Ganache, I think it was,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and it was just like following scripts, really, not really doing anything crazy. But I remember making a voting application where you could put in your, whoever your candidates are, and then every vote was a hashed transaction to the blockchain. So it's like
Yeah.
the whole immutability aspect kind of comes into play, and you can start to see how you actually do need immutability because somebody can't later go and mess with the voting data, right? So
Yeah, that's one of the applications that a few of the books starts with is a voting application, and it's such a good example of like what Ethereum can be used for that is not currency.
hmm
Uh,
totally. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. What do you
yeah, definitely.
what are you most excited to see being built on top of Hex? I think other than the pre-built, the prepaid kind of pre-staked Hex that you can sell.
Yeah, I honestly have not been paying too much attention to what people have been building on top of Hex. I think there's something that I expect people have done that I haven't looked for, but if they haven't, they should. Um, so definitely do this. By all means, you don't even have to credit me because it's an obvious idea. I expect someone's already done it.
Okay.
Um, uh, if they haven't, you should though, or someone listening should.
Okay.
Which is, um, so the bigger you stake, the more shares you get in the pool. That doesn't start to really have that big of an effect until you're staking tens or hundreds of millions of hex at once.
hmm
It still exists on the smaller scales, but it's not a linear increase. And so the difference between staking 1,000 hex 10 times or 10,000 hex, the bigger pays better is not that big of a difference on those small levels. Longer pays better, you're still getting an extra 20% per year.
Yeah.
Um, but bigger pays better, you don't see.
Yeah.
So one thing you could do though, if you wanted, was you could pool with a bunch of people. Say, I have 100,000 I want to stake. I wish I could get a better interest rate. So what you could do is have a smart contract that basically pools, 10, 20, 100 people could pool in their stakes so that they all get a share of the bigger pays better that they would benefit
Mm,
from staking a billion hex instead of just on their
that's
own.
awesome.
Um,
You,
I expect someone's already done it. Maybe someone in the chat has already pointed it out. But that's like one of the things that would be cool because the game theory of Hex would support that sort of an application.
yeah, you'd have to find a
Um,
way to get like some kind of multi-sig contract built on top of an existing stake. Or
yeah, it wouldn't be too. The smart contract wouldn't be too complicated because at least you know when the stake ends. You'd probably have to make it so that you can't end the stake early because everyone would have to decide to end at the same time. So I suppose you could
yeah,
add a function where everyone could vote to do that.
yeah, everyone would have
Um,
to
but
either agree on a particular stake length or yeah, something like that. where they all.
But on the simplest level, the smart contract wouldn't have to be too complicated, honestly.
Huh. Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. That's pretty cool. Because yeah, the bigger pays better. I mean, for me personally, I'm not a Chad whale, so I'm more of just a smaller guy, and my stakes don't have enough mass to make bigger pays better really that great for me. So I prefer the longer pays better gains to the bigger
Yeah.
pays better. And so that's where I've kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And the share price, the better share price early on, because one of the things that people have pondered is like, okay, well maybe I should wait until I have 10 million hex to stake after month 7 or whatever, and
Yeah.
then do it so that I get that bigger pays better.
Hmm.
Compare that to though doing smaller stakes and getting a really good share price earlier on, which will start to slow down the difference as it goes on, but. That's another reason to do smaller stakes sooner versus a larger stake later.
Absolutely.
If you go to the simulator, people on this call at some point, check out the simulator at stakehex.com/simulator, and you can play around with the bigger pays better. When I first implemented the current version of that on it, at first I thought it wasn't working, and then when I started to build up the higher ones, then I started to see it, and I confirmed with Kyle, who was working on the Hex smart contract, or at least tidying that piece up of it, and he said, "Yeah, that's how it goes." But that's one of the cool things about the simulator. I honestly still use the simulator to plan out some of my future stakes. I set the global behaviors to roughly what's been happening so far in terms of how much hex claimed and whatnot. Um, but you can see the difference in bigger pays better if you add an action that's the transform. You can just pull out, say, 100 million hex or a billion hex, and then try doing different stakes.
Yeah, I'm trying
Uh,
to
if you
pull.
have if you have cached stakes in your browser, it automatically stores your latest version, and it can take some time to. There you go. It can take some time to run the calculations if you didn't. Um, because it'll simulate the latest version that you did. But anyway, yeah, you can play around with like bigger pays better, longer pays better, and you can adjust what the average stake length is. Because right now it's like the average stake length is what, 5 years or something.
Yeah, it
So
was.
you can adjust the average stake length and the global behaviors and see how that'll affect stuff. So the simulator is still useful, at least for me. I think some other people are still using it too, but it's not. It's by no means out of date. Uh, it I still use it certainly.
Yeah, I tried to pull it up, but it wasn't loading for some reason. But yeah, everybody can go to stakehex.com who's watching, and not only check out the simulator, but download that app too. It's really cool stuff. Um, what else was I gonna say? Uh, Man, I just forgot. I guess we can take questions if there's the audience got any questions. Let's take a look at that. Anybody want to know anything at all?
We answered everything.
Yeah, we did. We did a great job. Blah blah blah. Sell high, buy low. Great, great advice. Um,
Doesn't suck. If only you could tell when the highs and the lows
well,
were.
look at this chart from stakehexinfo.com. Sorry, hexinfo.io. The chart all the way near the bottom shows the adoption amplifier price per day, and I mean, if that doesn't look like the bottom is into you, then I don't know. I mean, you can never say anything with 100% certainty, but it looks like we had our peaks of maximum number of hex per ETH at January 4th, and then again at January 14th. But it's been pretty quickly declining after that. I think today you can only get 400,000, or yesterday
Yeah.
maybe. But I mean, I don't know if we've. I think we might see. I think we might not ever see 1 million hex per ETH again.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think it'll still have some, we might be in a dip right now, maybe it'll go a little bit lower, or maybe it's not, but I wouldn't be surprised if you're right that it'll never be 1 million hex per ether. Um, I wasn't expecting that this early. I was expecting that to stick around for a good few more months, honestly. Um,
Yep,
I'm so stoked that the adoption is happening this fast and this effectively. It's so great. Uh,
it really is.
but yeah, no, we might never touch one sat again. We might never touch three sats again.
I think we're at 4
Uh,
now. Yeah. So
Yeah.
from what I've seen. Um, my thought from
We're
last.
talking. I mean, we're talking about how much of a bummer it is that you might never get 1 million hex per ether again. Give it another month, maybe we'll be saying you'll never get 100,000 per
I know.
per ether again.
Or hey,
Who knows?
maybe the 10,000 becomes the new baseline because that was what one Bitcoin was claimed for, right? So I could see.
Yeah, can you imagine the people who didn't claim with Bitcoin because they ended up thinking that 10,000 was worthless? If it really, I mean, all Hex if Hex's market cap hits say 6 billion, which so if we assume at the end of the launch phase the total minted supply of Hex is 600 billion, which it could be up to like 900 billion, could be as low as 500, but my estimation based off current behavior so far is playing with about 600 billion at the end of the launch phase
Yeah, that's
um,
pretty fair.
total supply.
Hmm.
So a market of six, if the market cap is taking into account all, including staked burnt hex,
Hmm.
a 6 billion market cap would mean that each hex is 1 penny.
Yep.
And so if you were claiming for 10, if you would get a free $100 for your 10,000
Well, let's not
Bitcoin
forget
claim.
too that you're talking about total supply, but I think in reality, CoinMarketCap only calculates circulating supply. So
Yeah,
75% of
there. The
600.
problem is the ERC20 tokens, the default function of total supply. Um, or rather by default, it doesn't take into account burned tokens because they don't exist anymore.
Mm.
So the problem with Hex is every time you stake, they're burnt. Um, CoinMarketCap is just out of date with Hex because it doesn't track Uniswap. CoinGecko is much better
Yeah.
at this point with Hex. That's one of the things we're doing in the next version of the app. Is right now we're using CoinMarketCap's API, and it is just not. It doesn't have Hex accurately at this point. CoinGecko does, but the trick is they'll have to use Hex's function circulate. I can't remember, but Hex has a function that does return the actual ever been minted supply, so including closed stakes.
Yeah. We'll get
Um,
there. And one thing too, I
yeah,
think.
it'll get there, but 6 billion isn't that high of a market cap.
I mean,
Well, right now the market we're certainly not in the next bull run. We might have just started it or something, but there's a bunch of tokens in top 10 that are already there.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, actually, six
that
billion.
$10,000 hex will have been worth it, especially since 90% would have been auto staked. So you'll probably get around at least double that after big payday, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
6 billion would
yeah,
put us
people will.
right underneath Bitcoin SV right now. Right now.
I just heard word in one of the chats that we just lost the feed.
Oh. Hmm.
I'm checking if it's just
I'm.
Michael that lost it or if it's
I
YouTube.
think I'm still streaming. I got excellent connection over here. Um, might just be that individual. But one thing I wanted to say, I think I might have mentioned this last time we talked, even though that stream was pure garbage on my part, is that the beginning people that bought Hex really, really high on day one from the adoption amplifier, those guys have an probably average buy price of around 0.001. It looks like 0.0011 USD. That's probably the worst case scenario for anybody that. I mean, that is the worst case scenario for anybody that bought Hex. Right now, if you bought on day
So far.
so far, but if you bought on day one, you are probably still not thrilled. However, if you bought on day almost any time after that, like I'm not gonna lie, I didn't. I would say I spent about 50% of my stack on day two, and that was an average buy price of like what 0.00034, and I think after all of my dollar cost averaging, I somehow got my average price down to like 0.0003. And so I became officially in the green about 6 days ago. And
Nice.
it's awesome. It's a great feeling. But just for anybody that's like, crying and whining about how they're down money, which there definitely are people. Like if people are down on money, they will act like little babies because they didn't
Yeah.
realize they want to blame someone else and they want someone to get in trouble for the fact that they lost money. But once this
Yeah.
thing hits above that 0.001 cent, I don't think any of those kind of guys at the beginning are going to have any ground to stand on with that argument. And so I expect there's going to be another giant run up when we get to 0.001 because of that reason. And I think because a lot of people will have changed their mindset by then. Because it's like, I mean, Richard keeps saying it, but like how many X does the price need to go up for you to be a believer in Hex? That's really all it comes down to. It's as simple as that. The price, it speaks for itself. And it's literally the only real metric of how much people are valuing this project. But if anyone's out there, trying to, I don't know, file a lawsuit or something, like I heard there was some kind of a class action lawsuit going on.
I think it's just rumors, people saying, "Oh my God, there's going to be this." I mean, we'll see. They won't have a leg to stand on, but yeah, I think it's just people saying we should do this, or actually, it's not even that. It's people who are not involved with Hex who want it to fail. Everyone that's involved in Hex, almost everyone that I've talked to, is still stoked on it because they understand the stuff. But anyway, like you were saying, they're probably still going to end up. Go ahead.
No, no,
Didn't mean to
no, you're
interrupt.
absolutely right. I'm just saying that by the off chance that some people that were in the Hex community feel jaded by the fact that they quote unquote lost money, well, they should know right away, first of all, like, hey, I'm putting 1 Ethereum into the adoption amplifier and I'm going to get 40,000 Hex for this. You kind of have to be okay with the fact that Hex doesn't have any value right now. So whatever US dollar value your ETH was worth, let's say it was $150, you're essentially trading it for something that's not going to be an overnight flip. So a lot of these moon boys out there, they want to like go, point to the SEC or go like, get someone in trouble and just do this finger pointing stuff. I mean, it happened in Tezos too. I remember I was part of that community for a while, and they had a pretty rough, rocky start with somebody at the beginning who was on their kind of board, their foundation board that kind of managed all of the ICO funds from Tezos. He was not a great guy and kind of very sketchy with the money, doing some things that the rest of the community really did not agree with. And so they had a lot of issues for like a full year after their launch phase. And the fact that people felt like they were down on their investment for that full year led to actually some people, some assholes with nothing better to do, forming a lawsuit against the Tezos Foundation, just because they felt like they had been ripped off. And the funny thing is, even in Tezos, they were up on their investment. So they never really went below the ICO price, which was like 41 cents. Tezos at the lowest, got maybe back to like 50 or something like that. But they were still up on their value. They were just mad that Bitcoin was pumping harder than Tezos. And so they wanted to sue for their like losses that they would have had.
The opportunity cost
exactly.
of yeah.
And so people are so ridiculous that can even be an argument for apparently a lawsuit. It never went anywhere. And the very minute that Tezos reached break-even price for them, they actually dropped the case, and I don't think it's still going on anymore. So, I don't know.
That's too funny. I mean, yeah.
People are going to act silly when it comes to money. They get very
well. And let's play out that scenario I mentioned where you've got a market cap of $6 billion, so each hex is worth a penny. Let's say you got in, just on that day one FOMO, you got 40,000 hex for 1 ether. And that 40,000 is going to be worth $400, so you're up almost 4x from what ether was on that day. So even in those scenarios, give it time at least until the end of year one. But I think even people that FOMO'd in day one are going to be in the black. Certainly, I'm guessing. I can't say for sure, but certainly within a year and a half, probably much sooner. That heck, it might happen even before the end of the launch phase, based on the activity so far. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, people just need to give it time. I get that people were bummed if they threw everything in on day one and the price was so much better on day 3.
I know.
But that's why you dollar cost average stuff, because you never know what's going to happen, and that's how it goes. But I think even those guys are going to be up before too long.
Yeah, totally. Hey, I'm just curious. What is your who do you think is the target user or target adoption person if you're trying to onboard a new user? Because I've been talking about with this a lot of people, and everyone's got kind of a different answer. So if you were out there just trying to, convert a new hex guy, who would you target as your ideal person?
At this point, the way I target it is as what a cool project it is with the game theory and how the staking works. I guess my current target is relatively savvy people who are into cryptocurrency.
Hmm.
When I'm talking to people who do not yet know or understand cryptocurrency, I'm still going, Bitcoin first and talking about proof of work and all of that.
Yeah.
Um, Long term, though, perhaps even short term, perhaps I'm doing it wrong. It might be the users. I mean, like I was saying, Hex is hodling designed right, and so anyone who is just about um, getting a pile of crypto and letting it appreciate in value, Hex does that. Is this Hex's design is that better? Who knows what the value will do long term? I think it'll outperform most other stuff, but point is, at least certainly if you're going to hodl a cryptocurrency, Hex allows you to beat the supply increase. Depending on the average stake length and all of that. Um, whatever your stakes are compared to the others. So perhaps the better target audience is people who want to get into cryptocurrency just to get a share of the market and cash out a long time from now. So maybe the right way to do it is start with Hex. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see it going either way, and I think both of those kind of classes of people are very valid. It's got to be either people that are into crypto that know about it, that aren't maxis, that have an open mind, that want gains. But that's not many people, right? That's people like you and I that like
Yeah.
basically we've been around the block. We know how it works and everything. But in the scale of the whole world, that's not many people. So I
Right.
was also thinking it would be essentially no coiners that don't consider themselves no coiners. So people that aren't in crypto, not because they hate crypto, but just because they don't really know how. And I think Hex can make it a lot easier for people to get into crypto because it's something that you can
Yeah.
understand, and it's something that you don't need to know how the underlying technology works. And I mean, I know that sounds like heresy because like people like us will try to figure out how something works before messing around with it, but people want gains that are similar to a CD, and it really
Right.
reflects a product that they're familiar with. And maybe they want a new way to get into crypto, but it's hard to sell them Bitcoin because of unit bias or personal just not wanting to spend that much on it or not seeing the gains potential. I think they'd be much more likely to buy into something like Hex that actually has provable rewards that you can earn every day. And the cool thing is you can tell someone just put
Yeah.
$100 in here and watch your stack grow. And then if you like it, buy
Right.
more and stake it for longer. But that was kind of my
Yeah. No. Exactly. I know someone who recently came into a bit of money, and uh, uh, her question was what should I do with it, and my suggestion, if you don't know what you want to do with it, like you just don't want it to be sitting around doing nothing, I was like, get some CDs for at least a good portion of it, because that'll at least give you breathing room and it won't just decrease in value as if it was just sitting in a checking or a savings
well, it might,
account.
man. Some of these interest rates are
But
abysmal.
but yes, it's right. I mean, certainly right now CDs aren't even going to do that much. But it's certainly, the thing is, it's better if you know you're not going to be spending it on anything for at least a year. Just throw it in something so that it's not decreasing in
Yeah,
value as fast as if it was doing
fair.
nothing. But um, no, probably what I should do though is get them at least to put a little bit into Hex, because it's the same thing. It's certainly a riskier. Crypto's a risky investment in general. Um, but yeah, in terms of getting it in something that will hopefully retain its value, and Hex is like a CD. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'm getting a question from the chat. It was a while back, actually, from Telegram, asking about the other PR company that I'm in contact with. So I'll hop over to their website and show you guys. If you remember, I mentioned there are two companies that I'm currently trying to work with to make this thing work. One of them is Publicize. Bitcoin.co. The other one is Bitcoin PR Buzz. Bitcoin PR Buzz was the one, just to refresh everyone's memory, that we apparently didn't pass their compliance check. Sounds made up. Long story short, going to try to convince them otherwise and see if they'll take our money. I hope they will. I think Wayne sounds like a very reasonable guy. But this other one, Blockchain and Crypto PR, this website I've got up here, is publicized.co. It's publicized with a C-I-Z-E .co. And I'm actually talking with Freddie from their company about what they can potentially do for us. And after the first call, he actually hadn't heard of Hex, which I think was a great thing because I was able to explain it to him without any preconceived bias or any notions about it. And so I have another call set up with him on Monday where he's supposed to be drafting a strategy plan for us and how he can best use our funds to make the most effective PR campaign, essentially. But I think it went really well with Freddie because, again, he didn't have a bias. He didn't even know about Hex at all. And I was able to explain it as like a DeFi kind of blockchain CD and, use terminology that clearly wasn't scammy at all. I have no doubt that he's going to go do his own research and try to look up. Hopefully he looks beyond the first page of Google, and hopefully he just knows how to actually look for primary sources and stuff like that. But I also sent him a lot of follow-up information, such as the audit, a couple of videos, a couple articles, and some tools that people are already building on Hex, just so he can get a kind of a sense of like, what the project really is all about and how it really is a community-driven effort here. And I had a pretty good feeling about it, so I will keep you guys posted on Monday, but that is the other company, and it's Freddie from Publicize. So more to come on that. They've got different tiers again, so they've got like this enterprise tier, and this is probably what we'd shoot for, but maybe with 4,000, who knows, maybe we can get a little bit of a better package, but I'll have to see on Monday. So.
That's great. That's sounds really hopefully that'll pan out because that sounds really really great. And it's probably good that, like you say, you got to him, I guess, first before Google did. So he even if he, like you say, goes there first and sees this questionable stuff, he'll at least know what to look for.
Yeah, and I told him
because
to
you
watch
gave
out
him
for
the
that
intro
too.
of
I told him it was controversial
Yeah.
and that this isn't necessarily a damage control campaign, but it's kind of just, because I think the damage that's already been done is not detrimental to the project by any means. But it's more of just like trying to clear the FUD a little bit and almost like a cleanup crew for the initial wave of clickbait. So he said that he's seen plenty of stuff like this, and probably I would venture to guess that he's even probably kind of taken money for legitimate scams unknowingly too. So I think he'll try to see this project for what it really is, and especially if we're offering the funds, like he doesn't have any reason to not take them other than wanting to do an honest job and not promote scams, which if he's really looking into it like we expect him to, and he's doing a good job of research, then he'll realize that it's not. So
yeah, if he takes the time, this is true of anyone. If you take the time to look into a hex, you realize it's not. You just have to dig deeper than front page of Google. The people who call it a scam simply don't understand it, and they should do more research before they call it that. But there is some comfort in knowing that it's just a matter of ignorance. Mm-hmm. Not that they're ignorant people, but they're calling something a scam without having done due diligence, and they shouldn't. But if you look into Hex, it's not. So yeah, if he digs in, should be golden.
Yeah, and if there's any particular videos that the community wants me to send his way, or even just your favorite Richard Hart video, let me know, because not only will I send this to various PR agents around the globe, but I'll also be forwarding you the results of the YouTube campaign that I'm running, and we can kind of collectively vote on which videos we want to show to crypto influencers channels. And I think that'd be good if so hit me up on Telegram. You can just DM me or post in the Hex crypto channel and give me all your ideas that you got, because we've got a lot of economic mass behind this thing. So let's do the most get the most bang for our buck.
There's also two great articles on Medium. One was by me. I guess I shouldn't have opened with it's great, but
Is the other by
it
me?
is good. It tackles kind of the most common accusations of scam. But there's another one that goes even more in depth. I can't remember who wrote it. It actually it isn't tackling kind of the accusations of scam specifically like I was. What it's doing is basically saying, you guys don't know Hex, and he's someone who's been in the chat rooms. He or she, I actually don't know, but has been in the chat rooms, has been sitting there watching this, seeing how responsive Richard Hart has always been to criticism and
Mm-hmm.
questions. Because I mean, if anyone who's sat in the chat for months, Richard has had to answer the same questions over and over and over, and he does is the thing. Now he's got the bots that have the copy pasta and stuff now,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it's like this. If you know the people involved and you see how they've been working on it and working with the community, because it really has been a community project for a long time. Uh, some of the early bugs in the smart contract were pointed out by community members. One of the people, Michael, who's been working on the Hex Tool app, was I think he was the person who pointed out one of the kind of big game theory issues with the. It was the thing that made it so that we started doing shares rather than equivalent amount of hex in the pool for payouts, and the share pricing was something that came out of that. Because it was a game theory issue, and Richard and Kyle and some other folks worked really hard on and figured out ways to fix it. But point is, Hex has been like a community project that lots of people should be very proud of, even if they weren't like the person who wrote the smart contract.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of that, I'm gonna move your face down a little bit so the chat can see. But what I'm showing on my screen right now is the top Telegram chats, and we're back at number 36 global. So that is just that's the one that really
Wow.
always blows my mind. Is that like out of the entire application of Telegram throughout 23,388 channels, Hex is number 36. I mean, it's been
I
61.
love it.
This is the best I've ever seen it at. And if we want to make that number look better, we can take only the English channels, and we could check out Hex Crypto on there. So we're number 14 out of all the English ones. So,
Wow.
I mean, come on. How much more bullish does it get than that?
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hop over to Uniswap. It looks like you can get only 551,000 ETH. Sorry, Hex per ETH. Um, I think I might be done buying Hex. I think I might have just I might just become happy with my stack and just sit on it for a while. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I was throwing a little bit in each day for a little while there. A lot of mine has come from referrals through SteakHex. Um, I've been very fortunate there.
Dude, yeah, it's pretty
But
cool
but
seeing.
no, I've put in.
Sorry,
Sorry.
go ahead.
No, yeah. So I free claimed and I've put some in through the adoption amplifier, but yeah, I've certainly slowed down that. And who knows? Maybe in 2 months I'll regret having slowed down because it'll be even better. But no, I'm kind of the same way. Is I've got I'm pushing on the hex tool and the stake hex stuff, and I've got plenty to be doing that hopefully will lead to more. Uh,
Yeah,
but I know a lot of people who are just dollar cost averaging the whole launch phase, which I think is smart.
totally.
Um,
Yeah, my
yeah,
and the referrals are such an awesome thing too because like if we like I have a YouTube channel, right? And I wasn't really expecting to make that much from referrals. But even to see like 10,000 hex here, 20,000 hex there, just coming in over time,
it's
it's
cool.
like, it's almost just like, it's literally free money. So a referral program is awesome,
Yeah,
especially when you're actually out there referring and doing all that. So I think your app is probably a better referral route than anything I'm doing just because everyone that downloads it will have, they're going to have to click on it. Um, but yeah,
yeah. And right now for the app, the referral bonus goes to the development team. And then once we have the version that you can upgrade, you'll be able to split it. So half is the development team and half goes to you. And the reason we kind of wanted that to be able to be free, but the problem is in order for it to work, we actually have to deploy a new smart contract for every user.
Mm,
Um, so we actually do. It does cost a little bit each time. So we've got the upgrade, and then we're going to do be throwing other stuff in with the upgrade, ad free, and that's kind of just one part of it.
yeah, that's awesome. Just another way to monetize the whole thing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really cool. I am taking a look at the chat here, trying to see what people are up to. Hex Awareness Team would target a 27 to 35-year-old tech-savvy man. Okay, that's fair. That's pretty much what most of us are anyway. Um, what else? Chat, if you've got any questions about anything at all, feel free to post it. Um,
Yeah, and we should do another stream once you've got some company kind of more pinned down and talk a lot about the PR campaign
yeah, I really can't
and
wait
plans
to be
there.
able to provide more certainty on that. I don't love where we're at right now, but I can tell you guys I'm doing pretty much everything that I can to make this work. So,
No, dude, you're a king for doing this. Like, more power to you because I think this could be a massive difference, and we're in debt to you.
oh, I mean, you guys are the ones that funded the money anyway, so um, I did fund a little bit on my own. I put about 250, 260 in it.
Well, no, but the amount of time you're putting in. I mean, how much do you value your time? You've put in a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it does get made easier by people like Anders and everybody that are just posting for me in the chat, Like, I don't have to
Yeah.
actually copy and paste it so much. So I'm glad other people are excited about it. Really looking forward to giving some good news. I think the news we have right now is okay, but it's not as good as I would like it to be. So it's just a matter of convincing these people and literally just getting them to take our money. If not, the YouTube campaign is very promising as well. So more to come.
Yeah, I was glad to hear that that actually might work. I wasn't sure. That's cool.
Yeah, no, it didn't get banned, so it's eligible. It's up and running right now. So just kind of
That's
surprised
great.
by that, but pleasantly so. Hmm,
Nice.
for sure. What do you got, chat? How about the new law that lets ICOs roam free for 3 years? Have not heard about
It's
that
not
law.
passed.
Do you know about that?
Yeah, so this is interesting. Yeah, the I think chair of the SEC, correct me if I'm wrong, she's made a proposal that basically token sales and stuff that's cryptocurrency related. And this is, mind you, just an overview. Please correct me, anyone, or direct to better resources. But basically, she's proposing that you basically give 3 years leeway to any new projects in terms of problems with being an unregistered security and so forth, which I'm not sure it's a great solution, honestly, because like it's a bridge that these companies are going to have to cross at some point. I guess maybe it protects ones that fail anyway or
Hmm.
something. But like it's a hoop that they'll probably have to jump through or worry about anyway. So I'm not sure that pushing it out
Yeah.
solves the problem. But the fact that she is very much interested in making it easy for innovation to happen in the
Yeah.
space, that's huge. So even if this specific proposal is not something that ends up happening or ends up kind of, I'll let smarter people or at least more well-informed people than me in the industry side of it figure out the merits and problems with it. But I think it's a massively good sign that she's interested in doing things that allow innovation to happen.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Like you said, if nothing more, at least it proves that the sentiment is changing a little bit, at least with some
Yeah.
people. I think it really just takes that stink of the ICO mania phase to wear off completely. I think a lot of people are skeptical right now, and I think that is where some of the backlash is coming from with the general sentiment towards this project online. You've got companies like CCN and Bitcoin News picking it up and spinning it in a really negative way, but they probably got wrecked themselves. I mean, the writers of those articles probably invested in some shit that they're not so proud of. So it's easy to
Yeah, a lot of people got burnt in
yeah.
2017, and so it's understandable and is good that people are skeptical of new projects.
Mm-hmm.
But you should dig into them if you're going to call them a scam. Not
Yeah.
like you could say, I don't know about it and I haven't looked into it because who has the time to look into every new
Totally.
project? But if you're not going to, then don't be making these sweeping judgments.
Yeah, yeah. What's one thing that's funny to me too about some of this stuff is that they cite articles like I'm not even gonna pull up the articles because they're disgusting, but like they'll cite like a blog post on Steemit, and that'll be like their source of information. Like, see, look, like this.
That's what you do. You make a tautology of
Yep,
citations,
it's
where
circular.
well someone else posted their opinion, so I'll cite
Yeah.
that because clearly that's a source now. Oh, it's
You can follow it around. I should
this
do this
is
on one of my videos where I try to find a circular reference of like people quoting each other.
yeah. I bet you could make it all the way
Yeah,
around. I bet you could.
yeah.
That would be
I'm
cool.
gonna write that down.
Uh, I bet you could find it. I mean, I suppose chronologically it doesn't quite make sense, but with people are constantly editing their articles with corrections or whatnot, and I wouldn't be surprised if someone manages to cite a source that by however many steps the the final source had cited them. That would be a fun.
It'll happen.
That would be
Give it
cool.
enough time. Have you
Yeah.
heard about Kim.com's new thing?
No, what's that?
Um, have you heard of Kim.com at all?
I haven't. Not that I can recall in any case.
I think he made a website called like Mega Upload back in the day, and had a large part to do with kind of the internet, the early internet companies. He's making a new cryptocurrency, which I just saw somebody in the chat mention. Um, yeah, I don't know much about it either. I was just wondering if you did. I know Tone Bays had him on his
Yeah,
channel,
no.
but I don't know.
Mm,
It's hard to really catch my attention these days. All I'm thinking about is Hex, so it's got to be something pretty damn
yeah.
good if I'm gonna get my mind off this thing. Um,
Listen, if anyone here has connections or is a follower of any YouTube or podcast host, and you want them to have someone on to talk hex, I am more than happy and interested in hopping on any. The Bitcoin SV channel had me on a few weeks
oh,
ago,
really?
and they were, and I think still are, major hex skeptics. But we cleared a lot of things up for them. I expect that various people in their followers got interested and checked out Hex because of it. Um, but if you guys, I've posted my Twitter handle is at SteakHex. So tag me and tag anyone that you're interested in them talking about Hex because I know the contract well. I know I'm more than happy and interested in talking Hex. I'm not I can debate as well as the next guy, but I don't really enjoy debating. I enjoy talking about interesting things.
Mm.
So ideally, I want to talk to skeptics, but it's not the sort of situation where it's like we want to destroy each other. I'd like to learn about what they're working on, and hopefully they're interested in figuring out. Maybe they really think Hex is a scam, in which case, we can work through it and figure it out together.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have connections or are interested in seeing someone that you follow talk about Hex, send them my way. At SteakHex on Twitter is the best way, or Paul at SteakHex.com. You can reach me on email. But I want to go on anyone's stream who's interested in talking about Hex.
Yeah, I would be up for that too. I've been talking to a lot of hexers, and it's great to like talk hex with a fellow believer. But like, I'm very interested in talking to skeptics as well. Wouldn't be
Yeah,
wouldn't be afraid to kind of go more the debate approach. Hopefully, if I'm a little less tired next time. And
you like blood.
well, right now I'm feeling pretty. I'm just getting over a little bit of being sick, so I feel like a little bit of a brain fog. But at the top of my game, I can go head to head with somebody. Like send them on Telegram. I don't really go on Twitter just because I like to keep most of my brain cells these days, and so I Telegram at CryptoCoffee7 is my Telegram handle. So I'm happy to just talk about it. I'll be friendly. Like I'm not gonna do this isn't gonna be like a Richard Hart versus Peter McCormick type deal, but definitely
As fun as that was to
yeah.
watch.
Yeah, I'll be nice, but I will tell people that they're wrong too. Um,
Well, yeah, if they
yeah,
are.
if they are, maybe they're right. Maybe Hex is a scam. I just
If it is, I want to find out. I want to figure it out. I am more incentivized than most to find
Oh
out.
yeah, I'm emotionally invested.
Yeah.
I'm all in. Well, I'm not all in. Never afford what you are not willing to lose. Never. What is it? Never
I have
bet.
been looking for a good argument that Hex is a scam, not because I want it to be, but because I want to find out if it is. And I've been looking for months, and they just don't understand Hex each time. And that's
Yeah.
fine, but
Well, I think
I've been
the
trying.
OA is the one that's closest to being convincing. The origin address.
It's um I
I'm not
yes.
saying it's
Well, what part
convincing. I'm
about
just saying it has the most merit, and that level of merit is still low, but it has more merit than zero.
Yeah, well, which part of it? Not to like spread FUD. Maybe we should do it. But no, it's worth talking about
Yeah, I
anyway,
mean, why
right?
not,
I don't
right?
know.
The ownership percentage of the OA.
The ownership percentage. I find the most convincing. Uh, uh, I mean, the thing is, like you say, that's a reasonable. The thing is, that's a reasonable criticism of the project.
Yeah.
You could want to like, well, if I built Hex, then the origin address would get
Mm-hmm.
less. Like, so someone could, but that I don't at all think is like, oh, that's a credible argument for it being a scam. No, that's just you would design a project differently, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah, and
Um,
it's like you can make a similar argument for any stock you buy in a company. I know we're not talking about securities here, but when you buy stock in a company, I'm pretty sure most of the time the company owns most of that stock, and rightly so because they should have the incentive to make it go up. Um, but yeah, I mean
yep.
that's just slightly parallel but unrelated because we're talking about crypto type of thing. Um, and here we're in a
Right.
situation.
That's just project design. Yeah,
I think
exactly.
the hardest part about the whole thing is like having to avoid securities laws in the way in the rhetoric that Richard uses has been the part that kind of triggers the most people because they want to see promises. They're used to that, and that's what they got in
Well,
2017.
what's so funny though about that is that they shouldn't want that. Like the thing is, so in the summer of ICOs, it was all about promises, and so many of them were not delivered on either deliberately,
Yeah,
fraudulently, or just because they didn't end up collecting as much money, or they spent it poorly, or they didn't sell Ethereum before the bubble burst, or whatever. Um, so many of the promises didn't get delivered on. So to me, if there's finally a project that gets launched and is done at the moment of launch,
mm-hmm.
such that no promises need to be made, people should be like, "Oh, well, this is great. This is a far superior thing than any of these ones where they had to make these promises about future work and future development." But I think people are so used to having promises made that it feels weird when they aren't.
Yeah, it's like they're
And
expecting it.
uh, but they really should be glad of it. If you're looking for a project and there's one that's done that is really awesome and has been audited and there don't need to be any new promises, that's like the kind of project you should want to get involved with and that you should encourage other people to build, because that way no one will fall prey to these situations where false promises are made and people get scammed off of them.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. And if Hex does fail, which I'm giving that a 0.00001% chance of happening, then it was a bad
Well, and
project.
where fail is just, what do you mean by
Uh,
fail? It's just like drops in price and doesn't recover, right?
Critical vulnerability goes to zero. Um,
Yeah.
then it was a bad project. It wasn't a scam. So I mean,
Well, or before its time. I mean, but yes, not a scam
yeah,
certainly. But yes, most new cryptocurrency projects at the end of the day, if we're just looking at numbers, most don't take off. A lot of them because they're badly designed, some of them because they're before their time.
yeah,
Who knows? But there are tons of reasons why projects fail, just like restaurants, which is like a 10, what is it, the 10% success rate of new restaurants that open or
something
something.
pretty
That
high.
doesn't mean 90% of restaurants are scams. It means they're bad restaurants or wrong for the
Yeah,
location or who knows.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, yeah, Hex could, in theory,
Well,
you know,
to your point about timing,
I don't think it's going to happen now. Ask me a month ago, and I would have said, yeah, Hex might go to zero and
oh
stay there.
yeah,
But all of this adoption, I just don't see how so many people have stakes for so long that they are
yeah,
naturally invested in it for the long
yeah,
haul. A ton of
yeah.
people. So what do you, I just I don't look. It might go to zero. Don't go all in on any new project,
Yeah.
but it's looking real good.
Yep. Absolutely. I've never been more confident. And to your point about timing, I think timing, the only better timing would be to launch this at $3,000 of the bear market. So it was launched at almost the trough of the bear market, the low. And it just had, happened to have launched after this weird Ponzi scheme from China. But
Hmm.
I think as far as timing goes, it's about as good as it can be.
I agree.
Unfortunately,
I think we're going to ride the bull run up.
yeah. But unfortunately, along with that, the flip side, the double-edged sword of that timing is that people's bullshit radars are at all-time highs too, because
Yep.
they probably lost a lot of money. Um, so
Yeah.
fair, but it's a good exercise for people in critical thinking and in how to think for yourself, I believe.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Good lessons were learned, and they've been learned over the whole past 10 years.
I
And
still haven't learned my
I
trading lesson, by the way. I still tried to open up a short on BSV. Um,
oh yeah,
I
did you catch it right after that pump
yeah, but I didn't really
a
make
few
out.
weeks
I
ago?
didn't get that. I didn't make that many gains on it because it. I mean, I forgot what I think I got like 10% of what I put in.
Hey, that's more than
Yeah, I mean, I
negative,
got
man.
out before because I was just so scared, and so I guess the feeling
Yeah.
of fear that I had from being in that trade was a lot more than it had been previously, and I think the reason is because now I know like trading is not a viable source of income unless you're going to be looking at your computer all day and treat it like a full time job.
Yeah.
It doesn't work out well, and I feel like I almost got lucky on that BSB short because being short anything is a terrible idea usually, and I
It's
didn't even take my
risky.
own
Yeah.
advice. I went and made a YouTube video about it just because I thought it'd be funny to short BSV. I think I bought in at like 0.0321 and bought back at 0.031 or something like that, or 0.0030.
Yeah.
But just today, it had a giant green candle, it rose like 15%. And, why? I have no
Hmm.
idea. But that's just why you don't short anything. I mean, there's literally no reason for that thing to
Right.
go up, but it went up. So apparently I'm wrong. And people are still buying it. Whether that's like one whale or a bunch
Yeah.
of people that think Craig Wright is Satoshi. I don't know. Um, I, I don't really.
Yeah. I don't know. There was a few weeks ago when something happened with the case. I guess I don't even remember, but there was some like he some of the there's no evidence that he's Satoshi, and he keeps getting these public
Yeah,
addresses and can't prove ownership, and it's just so
yeah,
silly. But something dropped where it was like, oh well, maybe
yeah,
he is, and it pumped for like 24 hours up to like 400, and then crashed, of
yeah,
course. I just don't get how the idea that Craig Wright would ever publish something that he was proud of under a pseudonym is insane. Like, just right
yeah,
there, the idea that Craig Wright is saying, I designed this brilliant thing and I didn't publish it under my
yeah,
name, that should be like, oh, well, so it
yeah,
wasn't you then.
yeah. Or like I don't even know what kind of like mental gymnastics he uses to get out of that. Like I wanted to be anonymous at the time, but all of a sudden I've decided to de-anonymize myself because the time is right now, and it was too risky back then. It's like I think it's riskier than ever before if you come out as Satoshi now. I think back then nobody knew who you were, so you might as well have used your name. Um, but I mean, it
Right.
just
Yeah.
logically never made any sense for me. But
I don't see. Here's the other thing, though. Honestly, I don't see why it
it shouldn't.
matters. Like I don't. Everyone focuses so much on like what Satoshi wanted, and it's like questioning whether Socrates was a real
Yeah.
person. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter because what Socrates. I mean, most historians believe he was, but the point is Socrates' ideas survived. All of the schools of Socratic philosophy that followed um, benefited from knowledge that we
Yeah.
all have now. And whether it was one person who did that or a group of
Yeah.
people or who knows, it doesn't matter if
It's funny.
Socrates
They
was
say the
real.
same thing about
Uh,
William Shakespeare in the fact that he, quote unquote, might have not
Right.
been physically able to write as many masterpieces as he did in his short time life.
I don't buy that. I mean, look at Voltaire. There are people who can write a
Yeah,
ton of
you're
amazing
right.
crap in no time. But no, the point is, it's the same thing, right? Shakespeare's plays exist and are amazing, and it's an interesting question, like digging into whether these people were the historicity of these figures is an
Hmm.
interesting question, but the quality of the work, it doesn't matter. It's either good or
Yeah.
it's not. And Bitcoin and the proof of work consensus and what Satoshi, whether that's one person or 100 people or an alien race dropped it on us or whatever, it doesn't matter because it works and it's amazing and it completely changed and will change the world even more and more as time goes by. It doesn't matter what Satoshi envisioned, and even Bitcoin maximalists, BTC guys will be like, "Look what Satoshi said," and if it's something valuable, then great. But the idea that because Satoshi said it, we have to implement it or we should, it doesn't. Let's implement it if it's good. I don't care whether Satoshi suggested it or someone
Hmm.
else did.
Yeah,
You know.
that's right. Let me ask you a random question. What do you? How do you react to haters on Twitter? Because you're on Twitter, I think, more than I am, and you're really just like in the middle of the shitstorm over there. What's it like over there on Twitter? Like, are you getting a lot of hate?
I got blocked by my first Bitcoin
Ooh,
maximalist the
achievement
other day.
unlocked.
Uh,
Achievement
Sorry.
unlocked.
Yeah, right, exactly. It was very surprising because anyone who follows me much on Twitter, I'm non-combative because I don't. The thing is, what do I do in my spare time? Is I go to the pub and I have interesting conversations with people, um, and so my whole mentality of talking with other people is of having a conversation with another person and trying to find truth one way or another. And so I'll have conversations about really hot and fiery topics, say abortion rights or whatever, with someone who I disagree
Yeah.
with. And for people who have strong positions on this stuff, it's a very fiery topic and they're used to having arguments about it. And they're so unproductive because at the end of the day, what I want out of a conversation is to come away not necessarily with my opinion changed, although if I was wrong, then I definitely want that, but with a more perspective and understanding of someone who disagrees with me. Like, if someone disagrees with me strongly about something that I feel I don't understand how they could possibly think what they do. I want to understand why they think
Yeah.
what they do. I'd like to change their mind
Yeah.
if they're wrong, but ultimately, I want to understand what the heck got them thinking
Yeah.
that way. And so my so that's how I treat people, one on one at bars or weddings or
Hmm.
whatever. I have small conversations with one other. I'm an
Hmm.
introvert in that way. What is it? An outgoing
Sure.
introvert.
An ambivert.
Where you're plenty social, but you like having one-on-one conversations. So anyway, I approach my online interactions in a very similar way, in a non-combative way, and it's interesting because it catches a lot of
Yeah.
people off guard. They're
Yeah.
ready to for
Yeah.
fisticuffs, and I mean, someone could say, someone could be like, is he really interested in finding out if Hex is a scam, or is he just,
Hmm.
trying to lead us on? And uh, if I'm honest, the answer is probably
Hmm.
slightly both, but legitimately, the majority of it is I actually just want to find out why someone thinks it is
Hmm.
a scam, and because if they're right, then I
Okay.
want to know. And so my whole the way I interact with people online is I try to be non-combative as much as possible, simply because then you talk about more interesting things more effectively, um, and then of course the side effect of this is when you are clearly open to changing your mind, the person you're talking to is generally much more
Hmm.
open to finding out new information
Yeah.
as well. No one's going to change their mind on the spot, especially something they feel passionately about. But if you or a conversation helps them have or helps you have slightly more certainty of what your opinion was before or what their opinion was before, that's a successful conversation because it means you came away with more perspective. No one's changing their opinion on a single conversation, but after two, five, 100 with other people, you never know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my persona
That's
on
a
Twitter.
very logical and level-headed kind of zen
I
way to
tried
look at it.
to.
Um, I can't go on Twitter because I'm not that way, and I try to be as tame as I can. And I think being involved in this whole thing has helped me come to terms and become more level-headed because it really forced me to. Um, just because if you're not and you're in something as controversial as this, um, and I should put air quotes around controversial because it's not really, but if you're in a community that's so tribal and fragmented, um, you're going to get a lot of just purely ridiculous, hateful speech directed towards you. So it's been eye opening for me and kind of a learning experience for me too. Um, but I still do not choose to interact on Twitter just because every time I go on there, I can't last more than like 10 minutes reading some of the garbage that I see. Not just about Hex, but about anything at all. And I think the kind of the way that particular platform works as a social media platform is like, controversy goes very far on Twitter. Like you rarely do you see
Yeah.
a neutral post that tries to weigh both sides of an argument equally. That never gets attention and retweets. You got to be spicy and you got to be,
Right.
on your.
I mean, this has been the curse of free media, free journalism forever. We complain rightfully so about clickbait
Yep,
article titles and what have you, but this is nothing new. This is the newspapers have been doing this for centuries. Is because you're
yeah.
trying to
It's just
sell
now that
papes,
anybody can do it.
and you gotta yeah, you gotta sensationalize the story if you want those 2 bits, and so it's nothing new. It's still a problem. I mean, people should
Yeah,
call it out when it's there, but it's nothing new. Online certainly exacerbates it and makes it much easier, and it capitalizes on. It's very easy to become enraged at someone online where you wouldn't in person, because of the lack
yeah,
of personification that you can have from behind a
yep,
computer screen, especially if you're not talking to them
totally.
on camera and you're just typing. It's so easy to become angry and outraged. Um, and it's got to be just some shortcoming of ours, one of those evolutionary shortcomings that is not compatible with a civilized world, but that helped us
Yeah,
survive when we were hunter gatherers. Um, but it's so easy, and so the clickbait, it's so easy. You have to put something that just makes people
well,
angry, and then they share it. And the funniest thing is when people will share an article because of how false it is, how terrible it is, and you're like, you are generating revenue for it.
yeah,
You are encouraging them to write this shit by sharing
yeah,
it.
yeah. People aren't thinking that far ahead, but like a good example of exactly what you're talking about, where being more level-headed actually does pay off. That comes to mind is I wrote an article on Medium about Hex as well. It wasn't as technically, logically sound as yours. It was a little bit more goofy and kind of out there, but it was titled "Can Hex Really Be Better Than Bitcoin?" And kind of a clickbaity title, not too much, but I go in there and I write this article, and that was one of the very first contributions I ever made to Hex. This was like over a year ago, so it was before Hex even
Uh-huh.
launched, and I got a lot of my facts wrong in there too. But I've revised it since then. But I remember reading down, going into the comments, which is always so fun, and then I got a comment from this guy, Ugly Old Goat, who was actually who I knew because he was on Tone Base's channel a lot, and he was a Bitcoin maximalist,
Uh-huh.
and he left like a nasty comment uh, on my post, and then he linked to one of his own articles about why Hex is a scam, and like as if that was going to change my mind. But I commented to him back to him as in like I think I led with like, "Hey, ugly old goat, like I'm really glad that you're reading my posts. I'm a big fan of your work because he's a good trader, you know, and I liked watching him, listening to him talk about
Yeah.
trading. And I'm like, he's probably better than Tone when it comes to trading, but I'm like, hey, Ugly, like, thanks for commenting, and just the fact that I recognized him and that I said like thank you, um, you could tell it threw him like really off guard, and he actually like apologized right after that, and he was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't think you were actually gonna read this. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna read it. Like, it's my
It's
story.
so cool.
Like, what do you mean? But yeah, just one of those small moments where it's like somebody with kind of a bigger following in crypto, you know, is doing the same kind of behavior. But if you approach it with an attitude of like, thanks for your opinion, and I'd love to find out more about why you think this way, then they really change their
Yeah.
attitude a lot.
No, yeah, you're spot on, and credit to those people. I mean, of course, everyone should be that way, but a lot of people, especially those with large followings online, um, feel some amount of pressure to changing your mind or admitting you were wrong. Um, not even that's not the right way to phrase it, but finding out you were wrong and admitting it. So I guess that's accurate. It's very hard for a lot of people to do, especially if you have a wide following, because you think that it demonstrates weakness or makes you look stupid. And in fact, the opposite is true. I mean, did your respect level for Ugly Old Goat go up or down after that interaction?
Yeah, yeah,
So it actually demonstrates a level of maturity and interest in finding out what's right and in being correct. And but a lot of people have a lot of trouble with that if they have large followings. I don't know how. I like to think that I would be just fine as well. I would hate to be famous. Oh my god, that would just
I'm
be
starting to
miserable.
even yeah,
I
because it's weird once you have a following and a YouTube channel because then you start to realize like you kind of are not at the mercy of the audience, but there's a fine line where you're making content based on what you want to make it on, and then what everyone else wants to see. And this is coming from
Especially if you're making money
yeah,
off of it, and if it's a significant or all of
yep,
your income, there's a lot of pressure to
yeah.
do
I mean, yeah,
things.
but also you
Yeah.
know, some of the crypto YouTubers that took a less like combative approach, I kind of do respect them a little bit more because if they took a look at Hex and they weren't immediate to call it a scam, and instead they just said, hey guys, I'm not going to recommend you invest in this, but let's try to understand it a little better. You know, I respect that a lot more than somebody that's just doing it for the views. So there's two ways that you can go about
Yeah.
power in like from a fear-based perspective or more of like a loving, all-encompassing perspective. And so you kind of choose which one you want. Um, I'll probably switch off over the
Yeah.
course of my career, but you know, I can't help it sometimes.
Yeah, I absolutely hear you. I hope respect to anyone with a YouTube channel. I hope I never start one of my own. I'm happy to go on other people's streams. I hope that I always stay that way. I don't want the pressure.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling. It kind of feels good though. It's got ups and downs.
I
Yeah,
believe you. Yeah.
and it's coming from
Yeah.
someone with like
Well, good for
I've
you
only
for
got like
doing it.
250 subscribers, dude. I'm like a joke of a channel right now, but they monetize you at 1,000 subs. So hopefully,
Oh, heck,
oh,
well, you'll
easily.
get there.
Um, yeah.
When did you start the channel? Or when did you start like really
I
pushing it?
started it like I think the week that Hex launched. It was on like December 4th
Oh,
or something
nice.
like that. So it's only been a month, 2 months. But yeah, I think my new kind of approach is going to be similar to what you were saying earlier with just one-on-one conversations with people. I've made enough Hex videos to the point where it's like I don't know, and I don't want to do like what Hexologist does. I think what he does is awesome, but like I don't think I could do a daily
Definitely.
video about Hex. I just don't have the
I know. I was thinking that. I was like, wow, every day.
yeah.
This
I
is
mean, you
so
got to respect his
impressive.
consistency there, but you know,
Oh, absolutely. Well, and he's great on Twitter too. I would love to do a
yeah,
conversation
me
with him
too.
sometime.
But yeah, I think that's going to be
Yeah.
kind of my new approach is just try to live stream with as many community members or non-community members as I can, and almost like bootstrap everyone
Yeah.
else's subscriber base and just kind of go get notoriety that way. So
Yeah, that's one of the cool things I will say that I've noticed in the YouTube community and the crypto YouTube community is how much people are trying to boost each other up. Um, it's similar. It's similar in some pockets of the music industry and in hip hop and stuff, where they're always trying to collaborate
Yeah.
on songs and build each other up, and it's very
Yeah, I
heartwarming.
mean, a lot of things today are
It's cool. It's a good
a lot
attitude.
of the music industry today is all collaborations, right? You have very few like
Yeah,
albums coming out anymore. It's like singles, EPs, and collabs. So the world is changing that
yeah,
way with the internet.
that's great. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, man. You got any other topics you want to talk about? Anything you wanted to ask me or
No, I wish I came prepared with a
it's all right.
list. Uh, no, this has been awesome though. This has been a
Yeah,
good
we'll definitely
time.
do it again. We're at 2:30. I definitely have to pee right now. I don't know how Richard does this for 8 hours.
Oh
Like
well,
I can't even. Maybe he's got a bottle that he just has below his
he
desk.
must have yeah, exactly, an empty bottle.
Yeah, he does a great job hiding it.
Well, yeah, I don't want to keep you from the restroom
All
then.
right, man.
This has been great though. Let's do
Yeah,
this again.
everyone in the chat.
Thanks
Yeah,
for
for
having me
sure.
on.
Yeah, we'll talk soon. See you, Paul.
Sweet. Peace.